I didn't read myself on I did because so that was all, so I don't know. I don't know if she had a
Hi, how are you? Do you want to ask some questions? Do you need a whole pile?
no, I'll just
Make them really hard. Come on.
yeah, I don't know if I do a lot of hard ones.
How are you?
You have to do it in these papers.
That's right. Betty, you want one too? Yeah. You got one? You want one? I can have it. I believe I can have this. That room, some church. Trying to figure out things like this. I know. We're on like Third Street.
That big old house on the corner? Well, I remember that because it's the same old house that I was going to enter from the so I was by myself.
Oh, this is just
No, I mean, you know.
No, this guy's from the city. They are taking it, but they're not taking it. They deserve it. We're 5 boys. And of course, Tom had 5 kids too. Kind of all over. So a bunch of them. You have that physical part. Yeah, I moved back. I know we're going to be certain about it.
I know I got two that live away, one of them
You like it? Sorry I brought it up. Sometimes it happens.
That was the motivator also. I want to make kids. That's what
I know my parents had their own because they moved away. She didn't have the closeness with these two girls. But then, you know, the two that was away, they graduated from college. And they said that it's a good experience for everybody to leave the area for a while. Yeah. Well, there's more diverse and I always tell me I'll be back.
Well, he's a 78 guy. He's a sophomore. Joe, June 72. You're right. That each remind the turn.
But then again, you
They're out there somewhere. Councilman,
Councilman,
how are you, sir?
doing well, you?
Good. Yes, sir. Just like church, I always sit back and I'm Catholic.
Pastor, he gave me.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Take that signal and send it. So we have to send it to City Hall.
This is my sister Lori. Hello. Yeah, I think, is your election, okay, my son wants to, Ardell years ago. Oh, what's his name? Dave saying, Dave was saying, oh, I don't remember, before we were, no, that's how I know who. Oh, really? I don't remember that. He wasn't here, he wasn't here, after he got out of school.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We invite you to find a seat. These round tables up here, go ahead and come on in, make yourself comfortable.
Lady, you took my chair. No, it's okay.
I'll keep it for you.
I'm going to go sit up here with this guy.
On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this evening's forum. Just a few housekeeping things. We're going to start with County Commissioner Lee Gable. He's going to give an informational talk about the bond issue. I think he has a couple videos, so we'll start with that. If there are questions, we do have slips of paper and pencils on each table. Somebody from the Chamber staff would be happy to come and grab that from you, and we'll pass it up here to the moderators. All the questions will be run through the moderator this evening. And I will introduce those gentlemen. We have Roger Whittle, the publisher at the Watertown Public Opinion.
Maybe I better be more.
Editor, good thing Mark Roby's not here. Okay. Mike Tanner, news director at Watertown Radio, and Dave Law from KXLG Radio. So we appreciate these gentlemen spending their evening with us. We'll keep it rolling along, but again, if you have questions, definitely flag somebody down from the Chamber staff, and we'll get them up here to the moderator. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Lee.
Well, thank you. As Megan said, I'm a county commissioner. Lee Gable, I'm also head of the Justice Advisory Committee. So, as you know, there's going to be a bond issue shared with the city on the ballot. Well, we're sharing the city ballot and putting our bond issue on there to increase voter turnout and get everybody out to cast their vote. So we owe it to you guys to at least explain the issue and explain our rationale behind it. So that's what it's about. It's not really an advocacy thing. We can't really say vote yes or vote no because I'm a county guy. So with that, let me get started. I have a couple videos to introduce you to the problem.
Well, our layout is a linear design, which was popular back in the 1970s.
Codington County Jail was built in 1974 in a linear configuration with the inmate cell blocks off a central corridor. This means that no cells are directly visible from the jail's control station. Jail staff must rely on camera surveillance and frequent random visual checks of inmate areas. This can make it difficult for the jail staff to ensure both their own safety and the safety of the inmates. By contrast, modern jails are constructed in a popular layout that positions inmate housing units around the jail control station. Jail staff have an open view into each inmate unit through a wall of highly tempered one-way glass. This means that jail staff can see almost all inmate activity as it happens. This constant surveillance is much safer for both inmates and jail staff. In the case of Codington County's 1974 jail, no inmate housing space is visible. In the case of a modern jail, inmate housing is easily and directly visible. In addition to being configured unsafely, the Codington County Jail has become too small and cramped. Since the jail's construction in 1974, there have been several modifications to make use of all available space for inmate housing. Although there are 96 beds in the jail, This is inadequate because the jail now has inmate spaces that are too cramped or in spaces never intended for use as inmate housing. The jail populations frequently at or even above the capacity of the jail, and the jail population is projected to grow. The jail's inmate spaces are too small because the available space per inmate, along with other square footages, are much smaller than the square footages recommended by the American Correctional Association, or ACA. ACA standards provide guidelines for safe and humane jail conditions. This helps jurisdictions avoid legal challenges. The previously described increase in jail beds was to provide bed space to a steadily growing inmate population. The average jail population for 1985 was about 21 inmates. In 2015, this average was just over 69 inmates. In 2016, the monthly average has been about 70 inmates. Such crowding makes it difficult to classify inmates. Classification of inmates allows for the grouping of inmates based on the level of security risk, gender, and other factors. According to the Bill Garno's Jail Assessment Report, the inmate population is likely to continue to grow. Over the next 20 years, a moderate estimate projects an average population from 90 to 100 inmates. To allow for spikes in the need to classify inmates, this means a need of about 120 inmate beds.
I have another brief video on the courthouse. It's a little shorter than the first one, so.
One of the primary problems with the courthouse is the lack of secure and separate routes to the courtrooms.
The witnesses and the lawyers and the general public all interacting and not having a space where they can go to separate themselves during these emotionally charged times really affects the integrity of the system. The current structure of the courthouse doesn't allow for the separation of inmates or witnesses. A lot of times there are 15 to 20 inmates that are brought over amongst the general public.
In addition to lacking functionality for modern security needs, the growing court caseload is overwhelming the available space. Since the courthouse opened in 1929, the annual number of cases grew from 40 to over 1,700 in 2013. This is only counting felonies, Class 1 misdemeanors, and civil cases.
There are thousands of cases that are dealt with. We continue to need more people to adequately deal with our caseloads, but we don't have the space to address that.
To help the county better understand this problem, the National Center for State Courts, or NCSC, provided technical assistance in the form of a courthouse space assessment. As part of the Codington County Courthouse Space Assessment, NCSC projected the likely court caseload 20 years in the future. NCSC then applied modern standards and best practices to these projections and made specific floor space recommendations.
Okay, so why is a county commissioner, a county official standing in front of you this evening? Because the law tells us that the entity that deals with this problem of jails and courthouses is the county. And if you're curious, go ahead and actually look it up. Title 16 is the statute or the title that covers courthouses, and Title 24 covers jails. Now, the plan we're talking about, some of you might have seen this in the paper. If you're following along, you're probably pretty attentive people since you're here. I appreciate you being here. So the plan would be to, and just to orient everybody, I should do that. This is Broadway, City Auditorium, current courthouse, current jail, First Avenue right here. So this is the northern part of the auditorium block. So the first step would be to build a 120-bed jail. So this is the jail housing area. This is simply a site plan diagram, a concept. And then this part would be the jail offices, the booking area, a small courtroom. And you saw that video where there was some inmates walking through the courthouse rotunda. That's one of the key security issues for the courthouse. And so that's the purpose of having a courtroom in the jail to almost eliminate that problem. And then the second story of that building would be a sheriff's office. And that gets the sheriff close by the jail, and that increases operational efficiency. Then step two, remodel the current jail, what is now the current jail, into office space. And so that we can move some offices out of the current courthouse into there, and that makes more space for the courts. And in the court video, you saw that they made specific floor space recommendations. Well, this would allow us to get the floor space for the courts from about 13,000 square feet to over 20,000 square feet. So that's an important thing, as you saw, because of the court caseload rising. And as far as what the whole thing's going to cost, I think you've probably seen this some in the news, but the overall project cost is about $24.3 million. Okay, then the county commissioners before my time started saving money, and that has accumulated to over $5 million. And so that allows us to put about 5.4 against that amount so that we can get that bond amount to below $19 million to $18,875,000. So that's how that works. As far as how it might look, give you a quick idea. It might not look exactly this way, but to give you an idea that we want to make it fit in with the downtown surroundings at a reasonable cost. So this first part here is that second story building I described. So the lower story would be the jail admin part, the booking area. This would be that drive-through kind of a garage. It's called a salad port. So that's where a law enforcement officer would drop off somebody that they've arrested and transfer them to the custody of the jail. Second story would be a sheriff's office. And then this area that's kind of tucked away back here, that's the housing area. It looks kind of small in this picture, but that's the inmate housing area right there. So a couple things to emphasize. And as probably everybody knows here, the 2014 proposal failed. So I want to emphasize some of the differences. I think as the chairman of the Justice Advisory Committee that studied this issue, we spent about 2.5 years going through this, so we learned a lot from looking at what happened in 2014. But one of the most obvious difference is the bond amount. So in 2014 it was $35 million, now we're talking about $18,875,000. Location, it's the size. The way we did that was with the size of the building. So in 2014 we were talking about an overall square footage of about 146,000 square feet. Now we're talking about 45,000 new square feet, and then 18,000, so 9,000 in the current jail, 9,000 in the courthouse roughly, remodeled. And so that's basically how you achieve that cost savings. Having it downtown is different from what was proposed in 2014, where it was on the west edge of town. The proposal was on 212 on the west edge of town. I think most of us commissioners heard from very few people that they like that idea, that solution of putting it on the west side of town. And then we all like to use the spaces we have. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure we did, and this is another way that we were able to save money, is by using the current courthouse for court purposes as much as we can, as opposed to building all new justice facilities as was proposed in 2014. And then we all wonder this question. So to give you a quick idea, this is an estimate of what the tax impact would be with an $18,875,000 bond. And the assumptions we made was that would take 20 years to pay off. We aimed a little high in the interest rate. We think we're going to be able to get a better interest rate than that, at least a little bit, but we wanted to kind of paint the worst case scenario, so we walked in with eyes wide open, but 3.75% interest rate. And then this would mean a tax of 56 cents per $1,000 of taxable value. So not necessarily assessed value. Taxable value is lower than assessed value. And this is a summary of a table that we have online, but this will give you an idea. So if you want to look at the way you would read that is if your assessed value, for example, if you're in the upper section there, you have a $100,000 house, say in Watertown, the taxable value is $93,300, which would mean an annual impact of $52.03 to your annual taxes. Okay, so then moving down to ag property, this table goes all the way up to $1 million worth of ag property, which is assessed a little bit differently, but that would be an annual impact of, so $1 million of ag property, the annual impact would be $474 a year. So this is an estimate. Again, we're trying to think of this as a worst case scenario because we think the interest rate will come in a little lower than 3.75. Okay, again, an estimate. Now, a couple things we need to think about is, what if this doesn't pass, what if we do nothing about this? Well, these green bars show what the additional cost would be to run a new jail. Okay, so it's going to be a bigger building. We have to acknowledge the fact that the utilities, it's going to cost a little bit more to run and maintain a bigger building. So there will be some increased costs. And you can see that's a period of 20 years, so we'll go up to about $450,000 increase over 20 years. Okay, now if we don't build a new facility, you remember that graph on the jail video about the inmate population projected to go up. So those are just based on historical trends. Makes sense. It's pretty logical. It's what's happened. It's based on what we've seen in the past empirically. So that means that as that population goes up, we start having to look elsewhere for jail beds. And that costs money because you have to transport inmates to another jail, to another county, and you have to pay that county for beds. So this is an estimate of that growth. So you can see that growth is significantly more than, say, maintaining a larger building. And then, so that was operating costs. Now, if we wait on the construction costs, I think it's reasonable to assume that over time, construction costs go up, interest rates go up, so that this far, don't pick up on your recorders. The far left is the 24 million, so we put the estimated cost for what we're proposing right now, and then this graph just simply applies 4% inflation over the years, over the course of 20 years. So if whatever one of those years we build it, that would be the estimate for building that same size facility. So that's the construction cost. Pretty reasonable to think that that's going to go up. 4% is a pretty modest average of how much that would inflate. Okay, then one thing we should touch on, as I mentioned earlier, the county is working with the city. The city's been good enough to allow us to put our measure on the ballot. That was a suggestion from the public, so that we could get more voters to the polls, so that if we would have everybody in town, a lot of people coming to the polls because there's multiple reasons. There's the city election and this issue to deal with during the election. A couple things to highlight about the ballot language. So you'll see this on the ballot. If you happen to be from out of town, it'll just be this measure, won't be any city candidates, obviously. But a couple things to emphasize. First, the amount. So $800,875,000. And what it's for: constructing, renovating, equipping court, county jail, and county law enforcement facilities. And then one of the key things I want to highlight is this is about issuing a general obligation bond. Now, a general obligation bond is what's going to get us the best interest rate. So when you're talking a bond, it is a significant amount of money. So getting a lower interest rate is a good thing to do. In South Dakota, only voters can do that. So this is where the county would need the voters' help in approving this bond, because if the commission were to do this, the county commissioners were to do this, say as they did in Brookings County or in Minnehaha County, we don't have the advantage of using that general obligation bond and getting that lower interest rate. So this is something kind of unique in South Dakota, but only voters can do this. A county commission cannot do this on its own. And the other reason a county commission might have to take it to the voters would be the amount. So we're below the threshold for the amount. The amount's low enough to where theoretically the county commissioners could approve it. But just keep in mind that voter approval does help your county get the best interest rate. Okay, polling places, I think everybody probably knows this here. So early voting is going on at City Hall for wherever you're from in the county right now. And then on the 20th, this is posted up, by the way, on the county website, if you want to go take a look. Oh, that was from the way. So if you want more information, there's brochures. I have a pile of them here, so if you didn't get one, please come and find me, and I'll give you a brochure. It's a summary of the information kind of laid out in a question and answer format. And we do have a website, on the county website, codington.org. If you go to codington.org, look at the left side of the page, you'll see a list of the county departments, and then among them is the Justice Advisory Committee. You click on that, and you get this beautiful list of stuff, lots of stuff. But probably the quickest way to get up to speed would be, you can watch more videos. That's a fairly quick summary. That's that top link there. And then the Q&A, it's similar to what's in those brochures. They're being passed around a little bit different, a few more things there. And then if you want to like the Codington County Justice Advisory Committee Facebook page, It'll have similar information. If you're more comfortable with Facebook, you can look at that. That light does not count as a vote, don't worry. Okay, the slide I want to leave you with, and this is kind of explaining the county rationale why we think this is a good idea. So number one, increase public safety. So just like hiring your police force, hopefully we don't come in contact directly with policemen. Hopefully we don't personally come in contact with the jail, but it is for our public safety. It's part of our system of public safety and justice. As you saw, there's a plan to increase the court security by increasing their floor space and adding that third courtroom in the jail, so you minimize the traffic of inmates going through the courthouse. Which all of that lessens liability risk. There was a little bit of allusion to this in the video on the jail, but essentially what this talks about is counties have been sued for the jail conditions, states have been sued for the prison conditions because of the conditions in those facilities. So we don't want that to happen to our county because that can be really expensive. Keeping it in downtown Watertown, which is pretty much, we heard from almost everybody, was the desired thing. Keeping that current courthouse in use, we like our current courthouse. And then, and I explained those videos with all the graphs and the increased construction operational costs. Doing it now, after we've studied the problem since 2014, is that we think is the most long-term cost-effective way to go. So I think that's my last slide. So do we want to do Q&A? Is that what we're doing that now? Pardon? Oh, okay. What are we doing? Oh, so we're passing questions to the edges for folks, and then
Okay, Lee, I have a question here. If population isn't growing, why is there a need for bigger jails? Would money be better invested with more policing? Invest in stopping crime instead of punishing it?
I guess I don't, we're not seeing that. We don't see that. We see that the jail population is projected to grow, and so there's a graph. This is a graph similar to what our consultant did, and added in some older data to do a better span than what he did. But you can see that those lines are the various types of projections. But then you remember the video, we talked about, the video talked about the projection that 20 years from now, that average population would be somewhere in the 90 to 100 in the area. So this was another part to the question. Well, we're not. I guess that I'm not understanding because we don't project the inmate population to go down. So we're projecting to go up. Okay, well, it is. I guess none of us can really answer that question definitively, but I guess it's a societal. Oh, okay. We have Judge Spears here. He can give you an idea of that one. By the way, Judge Spears is one of the non-voting members of the Justice Advisory Committee.
I think the answer to that question, ma'am, is the growing drug abuse problem that we have in this community and all other communities across the country. And coupled with the fact that 3 years ago, our legislature passed a law that requires drug abuse felonies and drunk driving felonies, we can no longer, as judges, sentence those offenders to prison. The presumption is county jail time in lieu of prison and rehabilitation and community service in this community. So that's That's part of the problem.
They
That-
legislated it, they didn't give you any money to do anything with
Well, I said at prior public meetings that apparently our legislators took a play out of the congressional playbook, passed a law, but didn't fund it. Did that answer your question?
it. Yeah, it kind of does. I know the drug situation is horrifying.
Okay, here's the question I've heard many times. Isn't a big part of the jail problem caused by Codington County housing other counties' inmates?
Short answer is no. Let me show you a graph on that. I think I got that handy here. Yeah, that's a good question. We do get that a lot. It's understandable. I mean, it is true. We do house some other county inmates. Would you mind just dimming that up a little bit? So what this is the sheriff's office report of the last 12 months on breakdown of county, or the jail report breakdown by jurisdiction. So the red there is Codington County. So, for example, in the month of April, the average overall number was 87 inmates in the jail. 83.3 of those were Codington County. You can see all the little different colors at the bottom, those are the other counties. So typically, we take in inmates, if we have space, from Clark, Hamlin, and Dual. I mean, and there are times when the jail has to turn folks away, so that does happen. So this is for Codington County, but it only makes sense if this gives you an idea of the size of that problem. It's not a major problem for us, but it only makes sense if we have the space to help out our fellow counties and give them a bed. And they pay for it. They pay $75 a day, so it does bring in a little bit of revenue as well.
2 questions, Lee, on the courthouse. The first one asks, would the remodel to the courthouse maintain our beautiful building?
Yes, that's the goal. One of the key things that was the aesthetic beauty of the courthouse, and preserving that was one of the key things for the Justice Advisory Committee, and that was in the criteria that we used as we went through the different solutions. We had the Codington County Historical Society take a look at the building and give us some recommendations. But essentially, the absolute things that we don't want to hurt or touch would be the rotunda, obviously, and the front facade. But right now, we're just talking about 9,000 square feet of interior remodel. And just to give people an idea of what we're talking about is, as we go through the design process, we can perform the analysis that we need to get the max bang for the buck, so to speak, by moving particular offices out of the courthouse to make the most and best use of the space in the courthouse, with the spaces vacated by moving, say, a county office out into the current jail.
The other question, how will safety be provided in the remodeled old courthouse?
The two big things, obviously. The biggest thing is having that third courtroom. So one of the things our court consultant told us is that we needed a third courtroom. Well, let's put that third courtroom in the jail, so that pretty much eliminates those crowds of inmates going through the rotunda, through the public space. Some of you may have encountered when you're in the courthouse running an errand with your kids or something, and then along comes a crowd of people in striped outfits. And so eliminate that problem. There would be the occasional jury trial where you want to bring that, say, one inmate over. So that's the big thing. The other thing is, as we're able to move a few of the county spaces into the current jail, that decreases the public traffic in the courthouse as well. So those are the 2 big things. And there's going to be some other things we can do, probably with some of the airport type security as well.
Lee, which offices would you move to the remodeled existing jail?
That's an interesting question. It's a very good one, but I don't think we want to get ahead of the game. This is one thing that, since I'm not an architect, I had to learn that we can't keep pushing, like, what about putting something over there? That would be really good over there. We want to go through the process step by step. So if we get ahead of the game, we increase the chance of change orders in the process of doing it, and that increases the cost of building. So we want to go methodically. We're at a level right now where we've been able to talk about the big stuff, the price, location, the overall footprint and size. That's what we want. That's where we want to be right now. This positions us to get into that level of analysis. But if you have ideas, if you have preferences, I think the desire is going to be the offices that probably would be the most benefit, say, for handicapped access, because that the current jail is in the level of the parking lot. But also the other thing is, how do we get the max bang for a buck with the space that's vacated, so that we can make more space for the court system.
And then about the houses behind to the west, is there any thought about future purchases there? Or
yeah, just yeah, that's it. Let me show you. Go back to that slide here. basically, we do have purchase agreements already in place, as you probably read in the paper about the purchase agreement with the city for the northern part of the auditorium block, and then the purchase agreements with these 3 property owners over here. So we wanted to make sure that was all lined up, obviously, and those purchase agreements are in place. The cost includes the overall cost of the project does include that land acquisition. Keep in mind though, it's contingent on the vote passing, so if the vote doesn't pass, the deal's off, basically. So that's how it's set up. So it's just like any other real estate purchase agreement with a contingency on it.
Just to clarify, someone asked, 18.9 million includes building the new facility and remodeling the old ones, right?
Yes, it is. And so it includes also a healthy contingency because we don't know exactly how the bids are going to come in when it comes time to put the bid packages together.
And you mentioned the new sheriff's office in the plan. Apparently there was some misunderstanding in 2014 about that. Please clarify. When you say sheriff's office, you mean the entire sheriff?
I mean the sheriff
department,
I should
not
say
an office for the sheriff.
Correct. Exactly. The sheriff's operations space is probably the best way to say it for clarification. So it would include the sheriff himself, of course. We hope people want him to be in there too. But all his deputies and the folks that work that manage all the paperwork and the records there too.
There's one more in here, Lee, that it asks about SB 70, and you touched on it earlier a little bit, or Judge Spears did, but how it affects all of this, and then how many counties are kind of in a similar position? Do you have any feel for that at all?
Yeah, SB 70, let me put up this chart here once again, this trend chart. The SB 70 is probably given us part of that last spike on there, okay? Probably, but you can see the overall trend is that. The other thing we're seeing around the county, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but you have many other counties dealing with the same issues. So Brookings County is adding to their jail, Minnehaha County, Lake County is forming a committee to deal with their jail problem. You probably saw Fall County, Brown County's having issues. So, it's in Walworth County, just dealing with stuff East River off the top of my head. Can you think of any other ones that hit them? So, so they're all at some stage of dealing with a similar problem. Some of that is SB 70, most definitely, and the meth issues that Judge Spears mentioned. But it's also just historic growth. At some point in time, most of the jails that I mentioned are 70s, 80s era jails.
I think you've already answered this one, but we'll try it again. What will the old jail building be used for after the new building is built?
That would be office spaces. We often get a question like, why can't we make the old jail into a new jail? The issue is, there's several issues about it, but a couple of them are cost. It would cost an awful lot to try to make that old jail into a modern jail like we showed in the video. But we can still remodel, we can still use the space. And the plan is to use that for office space, pull some offices out of the county courthouse to make more space in the county courthouse for courts.
And I've heard some comments about parking on that block where the auditorium is. Can you tell us how many parking spots there are now and how many there will be when the new building's built?
We should ask, okay. Right now, and I didn't bring that, I should have had my slide, but I do need to talk a little bit about parking. And this is a conversation that the county and the city had, and we came to this compromise arrangement. So right now, I want to say there are over 140 spots on that block. I want to say 141 off the top of my head, but it's in that area, and that includes so all that north of the auditorium, all the way over there, and then there's kind of a jet up here like that. So that's right now. This would, on that parking lot, that would, depending on how the city decides to paint the lines and things, probably between 50 and 70 parking spots in that area north of the auditorium that we're leaving as parking. Keep in mind also that the city is planning on painting some diagonal spots on First Avenue Southwest. And for everybody's information, somebody very close to me and I did a survey of the downtown public parking spaces. There are over 1,300 public parking spaces downtown, and that's just going up to the parking spaces in the police station. So those are public parking lots and diagonal spaces. So There's a lot of parking downtown. It's a matter, it is nice to get close to the building where you're going to be doing whatever you're doing.
This next one, Lee, this person writes, government should build government buildings, private enterprise builds things like the rec center. Why wasn't the city part of financing a new courthouse?
Well, that's a question for some of the city officials. Here's what I think the answer would be, and there's a lot of city people here that can find me out if you want to, but I think the answer would be that every city resident is a Codington County taxpayer. So if you want to get an idea I do have a slide on that just to give you an idea what in a sense what the by law city contribution is in property taxes. So if you look at that pilot, this is a chart of valuations for the county by geography, so by jurisdiction. So that the dark kind of bricky red on the right, that's the City of Watertown. The tan on the left, the bricky one on the left, backwards here, and on the right, that's the tan, that's the rest of the county basically. So you want to look in terms of geography. So I don't want to speak for the city, but I think that would probably be their answer. The other thing is we did work a compromise in the parking lot with the city. We did agree on a price. Obviously, as a person buying, we always like to pay less, but it was something that we worked out in the process of compromise between the two jurisdictions.
I know a question that you get asked a lot is, if there's an overcrowding problem at the jail, why don't we just take those inmates to another jail in the region where they do have room?
Well, you guys can back me up here, but the basic problem is there isn't any room. That's the big problem in most of those other jails. The other thing is that's expensive. We pay for that. We do that. The jail we hear about most often is Roberts County, and it is true. About 2 years ago, they were having trouble filling their beds. That's not a problem for them now. We occasionally get a call from them or from the tribe asking for beds. So it's a problem. It's getting to be a problem in this part of the state anyway. Okay, is that it?
Yes, that's it. Thank
Okay,
you very much.
Thanks for your attention.
You didn't get the information brochure. You can find it.
We'll go ahead and invite the Ward B candidates up and get started. We'll just keep rolling through the evening.
All right, we have our Ward B candidates. Neither one of them are in front of us. We have Jason Rudemski on the left and Adam Malum on the right. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that this is being live streamed tonight on thepublicopinion.com, so you'll be able to go and watch it later when you home. We're going to start off with each of you will get 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then we'll ask questions, and you'll each get 2 minutes for a closing statement. And who drew number 1? Go ahead.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming. My name is Adam Malum. I am running for City Council, Ward B. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the moderators for coming up and spending their time and putting this event on. I appreciate everyone coming out. I know that time is always of the essence. I'm looking forward to answering questions and gaining your trust and hopefully your vote on June 20th. My wife Lisa and I have 3 children, Brandon 17, Lily 10, and Noah 8. I'm a graduate of Watertown High School and received my bachelor's in business management from NAU here in town. I own Northeast Area Appraisals, which is a small independent appraisal business. I've been doing that for the past 11 years. I'm a certified residential appraiser. As a small business owner, I am used to doing budgeting as well as the challenges that come with forecasting revenue and trying to balance the tough decisions on how and where to spend money. I'm part of several private and civic organizations, including Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, the Habitat for Humanity Board, the Watertown Hockey Association, and serve on the State Appraisers Certification Board for the state, and in the immediate past president of the Professional Appraisers Association of South Dakota. I've also been on the Urban Renewal Board and the H2O 20 Downtown Revitalization, and chaired the Chamber of Commerce Leadership. I own a building uptown and have property at the lake, so I'm fully aware of the challenges that come with uptown and at the lake, and feel that water quality is important to help Watertown survive and to also bring people to town. So I just would like to thank everyone for coming and appreciate your vote on June 20th.
Hi, Jason Radefsky. I'm running for the City Council in Ward B. I'm a lifelong resident in Watertown, South Dakota. 1985 graduate of Watertown High School. 1986 graduate of the best college in the United States, right here at LATI. And I'm from Watertown, as I said. My father grew up on a farm north of Watertown. My mother was a Langenfeld. She grew up here in Watertown. And I've been my current employer for 29 years as a material supervisor at Church Utilities. I'm a reserve police officer. I give that back to the community. I want to make this place a better place to live, work, and play. Looking forward to your vote on June 20th. And just want to encourage everybody to take an active part in your community. No matter which candidate you vote for, maybe you don't like each of us equally, or neither one of us, but take an active part in your community. You pay taxes here, let your voice be heard, get out there and vote, support a candidate. And I want to work on the jobs issue. We built the workforce. We've got a lot of great amenities here that we've built in the past. Now it's time for that hard work to come to fruition. Get some people here. We build that workforce, expand that tax base, and we can take a look at, let's get that debt reduced. That's what we built in the past. And we've got some people on fixed income, so I know a lot of these bond issues they struggle with. So just to encourage everybody to get out and vote and support a candidate. Thank you for showing up tonight. I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with Jason. What do you envision as the largest obstacle facing the city in the next 2 years, and how do you plan to address it?
I think one of the largest obstacles is rebuilding a workforce. We have a lot of companies in town that are hiring and are willing to hire people. Like I said, we've got a lot of great amenities. We need to really sell the city and Watertown, so we get some families to move here. So we have companies that would like to expand, but kind of limited based on our workforce. And the other thing would be to, we got a great school system, full tech here in town. And I think that we sit at the intersection of I-29 and 212. I don't see where there's any reason why we should have the highest employment rate in the state. I think that we need to attract some business in the industry and then look at expanding into some other things that we need the city, is looking for. The jail topic right now is a real hot issue with a lot of people, so we'll have to see how that turns out. Once again, just encourage everyone to get out and vote and support the candidate.
You have 30 seconds to respond.
Okay.
Nobody told us the rules before this.
We'll play it right here. How's that sound? I do think part of that is correct. We do have an opportunity here. We have a wonderful organization at Lake Area Tech, obviously given the Aspen Award. We have qualified people that are in Watertown that are coming out of this building right here. We need to make sure that we get those people to stay in town and have them job opportunity, and also help the people that are currently in Watertown to grow as well. So the businesses that are here, let's help them along the way too.
All right, Adam, you get the first crack at this next question. Lake Compesca is very important to Watertown, and some feel that it is underutilized. How would you like to see Lake Compesca promoted and protected? Is there something the city could do at the Parks or Recreation Trail at Compesca that would be beneficial?
I think we have an opportunity with Lake Compesca to focus that as a Watertown destination place. The lake has, we have something in Watertown that the other surrounding communities do not have. Brookings doesn't have the lakes. You know, I feel that we can do something to keep the erosion down a little bit, as well as the weir. It sounds like that was repaired. So hopefully we can keep the water in the lake, which is a big plus. I know that they're down 3 feet last year. You know, if it's, they talked about an issue with 20 putting a marina in. I don't know if that's feasible, but maybe we make it as a destination place for anyone that's visiting Watertown. I mean, we need to promote that from a community, and the people that live around there can see to that as well.
And Jason, your follow-up.
I think we need to take another look at what we can do for water quality, work with our neighbors to the north, and also we need to look at what can be done to dredge portions of that lake, clean up the Sioux River. I know back in '76, I think that river was completely dry. We could have went in back then if there's something we can do now. You know, with the managing waters issue of the Dade County, I look for Watertown to attract a lot more sports teams, because we do have 2 big lakes here. We need to take care of those. They're a great asset to the community. A lot of people like to boat, like jet ski. You know, cooking on Compesca is a good thing.
All right, Jason, we'll come back with you on this one. And I guess the question is, what more do you think we could do here in Watertown to enhance the quality of life for all of us, and by way of that, ensure the workforce can grow?
We need to sell the city. I think we need to have an aggressive ad campaign for our city, attend trade shows, attend community state fairs, county fairs, really promote the city. We can possibly get some advertising in newspapers, radio, let the rest of the town, the community, and everybody else know what is out there, what Watertown has to offer. Got a lot of great amenities out there. You know, in the last 15 to 20 years, more recent than the last 10 years, we put up a lot of nice buildings that have cost the taxpayers a lot of money. It's something they can take some pride in. I think it's time for all this hard work to come to fruition.
Yeah, the question is, what more do you think we can do here in Watertown to enhance our quality of life for everyone here, and by way of that, ensure the workforce grows?
Sure. Like Jason did say, we do have a lot of nice facilities that were put up in the last couple of years. I think that we do a good job of recruiting. We go to Recon. I know that the chamber does that. Our Convention Visitors Bureau has advertised in Sioux Falls and some of the surrounding areas to try to get some of those people from Ribfest. But we need people that will move here and stay here. Young families, let's get them to come, you know, make them a part of Watertown and make Watertown great.
And we're back to Jason. We'll stay with you.
Okay.
What has the city done to address safe, affordable housing since the recent housing study was completed? And what is your plan moving forward to implement the findings of that study?
I know that we have looked at it as a real estate appraiser. I know that we are constantly in a need for affordable housing for people that are needing a hand up, not a handout. You know, Habitat for Humanity does work with some people that are first and second time, trying to get up, maybe the medical bills. We need to focus on an area that we can develop into, I wouldn't say low-income housing, because that always has a negative connotation, but affordable housing where people can move into it and they can slowly take on some of that debt versus trying to put it all up front. I know Southfield Housing does offer some good loan interest rates and things of that nature, so we just need to try to get those to go forward, and we try to get Watertown on board with that. It's a tough thing because you go into areas that are upper end houses, they don't want some lower income housing, but I don't consider it low income. I just say that people need a little bit of help.
I think we need to take a hard look at that. We've already got Watertown Housing in town here that helps a lot. Myself paying rent each month. And as far as them becoming homeowners, if they can qualify and the city could possibly help them in some way with a low income loan or reduced interest rate, I think it would greatly help. There's a lot of people that can't afford rent in this town. In some instances, the rent is kind of staying in town. And then there's rental property on the side, so I know what that's all about. So if we can take a look at that, that'd be great.
Jason first on this one, I think, is that right? All right. There's been a lot of conversation regarding the deteriorating infrastructure and road quality within the city as spending has been pushed for new facilities. What's your plan to address road quality over the next few years?
We got to curb our spending on what we're spending our money on. We got to rebuild that. We need to, like I said, get people here to expand that tax base, get that city sales tax back up there where it was. We lost money on that the last couple of years. Convince people to shop local so we can set money aside because there are a lot of roads in town that need repair. And people, if we're going to convince people to move here, we got to have nice facilities, good roads for them to drive on.
I did talk with Rob Ainen, our street superintendent, about some of those issues that are coming up. Part of the problem that we're running into is that the asphalt plant that normally is open in May is open in June this year, so that's put us behind. We do have a little over $1 million towards road improvement this year. With our normal budget being around $850, but it was better than last year. So honestly, we need to take a look at the problem areas, try to get a plan together, and move forward with that.
Okay, and let's come back to you first. One of my questions, I'm curious, where both of you weigh in. We're in a dry spell right now. We have been for a number of years in terms of no flooding, but we know what's happened in the past. If push comes to shove down the road, and we need to mitigate it, because we're in a flood insurance situation now where a lot of people are paying lots of dollars in the city. How do the two of you weigh in on that? Would you be willing to push your neck out there a little bit and support mitigation, maybe with dams of any kind, or where do you both come in on that anyway?
It's a tough decision because when you start talking about like Mahoney Creek Dam and things of that nature, you're talking about livelihoods of farmers that are up north, which could possibly lose land. It needs to be a cooperative between landowners and the city. Maybe it's buying some land and things of that nature. I think we have to look as a community and say, is there a way that we can help them so that we can help ourselves? The average cost on flood insurance, if you're under the old plan, is about $700 a year. Under the new plan, it's about $1,300 a year, and it's usually in housing that is on the less expensive side anyway, so another $1,300 is $100 and something a month on your house payment. It makes it a little tougher to afford it. So if that's what we need to do, I say if we can work in cooperation, let's do it. And that's the best way of doing it. And we're not hurting them in the pocketbook, and we're also as a community making it better for us, our citizens too.
I think that's still kind of a hot topic. That's always been on the back burner in people's minds, You can say it was a 100-year flood, or was it really a 100-year flood? Time will tell, one that knows that is Mother Nature, and I think what we need to do is be proactive in that, listen to the neighbors, what they're willing to do, what the city's willing to do, what the county's willing to do, work for some compromise to find some equal ground to that. And once again, you're talking about a hefty price tag, you have to look for some federal grant dollars on that, and you're asking people to
We'll stay with Jason. What is your plan to improve the economic outlook for the city? And someone requested, please give specifics.
Economic outlook for the city. We have a lot of businesses that have moved to town. I think we need to start attracting more families so that existing businesses can grow and attract some new industry into Watertown to expand the tax base. Like I said, I think we need an aggressive ad campaign to sell the City of Watertown. We've got a good workforce here now, but I think we can expand upon that. You know, get some graduates to stay here. They're going to be living here, convince them they need to stay here. We've got 5 or 6 factories in town. I look at quite a few people right now. It's hard to find that skilled labor for us. So I think we need to aggressively sell the city. And that will expand the tax base and ease some of the burden on the taxpayers that are already here.
Can you repeat just that portion of that?
Give specifics.
It
was, what is your plan to improve the economic outlook for the city?
Sure. So, as everyone has been hearing, I mean, our sales tax dollars are down. We need to obviously keep people shopping in town, whether that's recruiting, retail, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are recruiting businesses that are bringing people to town, whether it's blue collar, white collar, factory jobs. I know the Development Corp has several buildings that are ready if we have a business to move into that with a little bit of retrofitting would be able to go. So I think we can recruit a business that would come into town as well as get the businesses that are here to hire more people as well. So.
Jason or Adam? Adam, you're up. I know that I had you both on the radio yesterday and I asked you this question and you have differing kind of opinions on it, so I want to ask it again. What's your position on the new jail? For or against, and why?
Well, like I said yesterday, I don't think there's anyone here that feels that we do not have a need for a jail. The facility is outdated, obviously, as the presentation was put out. I'm never a big fan if we're increasing taxes on real estate because there is a bit of a burden for some of the people in town, and you hate to put additional burden on top of it. But it's a county mandated thing, which obviously all of us are citizens of the county that are members of Watertown as well. So if we go for it, and the city and the county decides that that's what we're going to do, I'll support it in all that I can. That being said, I'm never a big fan for raising our property taxes because it affects the overall value of our properties as well. So would I say I'm supportive of it? I would say yes, but I don't like it. That's my answer, I guess.
I think, with the majority of the citizens of Codington County living right here in Watertown, paying that extra tax to have these buildings that we built in the last few years, I think if we could, make do with what we have for the next 2 or 3 years to get some of those other buildings paid off and paid for, I think we might have a better response to the people being more in favor of the jail. I understand the need for that. I've been there several times, but I also understand the need for people that are on fixed incomes who can't afford any more taxation.
What about your thoughts on the ice arena, both of you? Do you support it?
I think the ice arena is a good venue. I support that. The price tag isn't exorbitant on that. I like that they switched the location back to the west edge of town, not going too far from where the original one was built. And the thing people have to realize is that hockey goes for quite a while, and every time, either every other weekend there's a hockey tournament in town. It brings people in, spend money into our city, motel rooms, food, gas, shopping. So I think it's a good idea. We've more than outgrown the need for the one that we currently have. And I think what their plan is for what they're going to use the old one for fits right in with building the new one.
That one's a little near and dear to my heart with a kid playing hockey. So, like Jason says, putting it on the west side obviously causes people to drive through town, which gets them to shop in town. I was never a big fan of having it out by the new softball field, just simply because people can go right up there on the bypass. That being said, we've gone to several of the other communities that have newer ones, and the amount of people that they bring in and the amount of money they come in. We did a Marshall tournament there 21 teams from out of town, and most of those people stayed. So there is some financial gains by doing it as well. It's a short 30 seconds.
Let's talk about downtown for a while. What is your plan to keep downtown growing? And you can talk about one-way streets, you can talk about stop signs, talk about the cost, talk about everything.
Okay, well, that's a bit of an open-ended question, but having been a previous building owner uptown, you see the plan of people, and having an uptown that is revitalized and people are shopping in there is obviously a huge thing. We went through a uptown charrette before we changed it out to the downtown, which showed the people what it can be, but it needs to be concerted effort between private and public money that goes into it. We can't just simply put out all the money that it would take to do it. They are private buildings that are owned for the most part. Going to a two-way on First Avenue sounds like that's going to go forward already. Kemp has been talked about for years, going back and forth between two-way and one-way. One-way tends to get people out of the area faster, and we want people to shop uptown, so we want to make sure that they are staying up there for an hour or 2 or 3 hours. We got rid of the 2-hour parking rule a couple years ago, and let's work together as public and private, put together a plan and see if we can implement that plan and make Watertown, uptown area, or downtown area, depending on which way you're from, the place to go to.
I like the addition of Thursday Night Live down there, the live entertainment, the farmers market, people that have done revitalization of the apartments uptown, get people downtown. I think your two-way traffic on campus is the way to go. It gives each business a little bit second look, a longer look. I think you're going to want to stay with your stoplights, at least for the first year, do a traffic study after that. And once you go to a two-way street downtown there on Camp, I think the traffic is going to significantly increase. And also with the safety, with the stoplight, I think that's more of a safety issue for pedestrians.
All right, Jason, we'll start this one off with you. I'm going to steal a question that was in the PO candidate questionnaire. There's been talk of a mold problem in City Hall. I myself don't know the extent of that, how severe it is, if it still exists. But given the fact that that has been talked about, is it, in your opinion, time to at least consider thinking about, maybe it's several years down the road, but thinking about a new City Hall?
Yeah, you need to think about it. If that building has existing conditions, if there was some mold in there, I believe the mold would be completely removed, because I can't think there was a mold problem for health concerns that the city would be allowed to even operate out of that building if it was a health concern. But yeah, it's something to look at down the road. I've been over there a few times, and it's crowded and not a lot of space. It's an older building, so yeah, it would be something to look at. I think we need to get some of this debt paid down first, and we can take a look at building something else. If it's a need, if it's a want, what we really need to do. And once again, gotta be a voice and listen to what your ward wants to do. There's a lot of hot topics out there, so gotta make yourselves accessible to questions like that. And vote not what you want to vote for, but vote what your ward wants to vote for.
I did meet with the mayor on that, just because I wanted to hear the answer that came out, but they did say that they go in a couple times a year to try to remediate the mold as much as possible. Once it's there, it's a very tough situation to get rid of. As far as getting it into the budget, it can go in the budget, but if you don't have the funds to pay for it, there's no sense to even start. So we need to make sure that as we're fiscally responsible enough as a community, but if there's an opportunity where we can find the land that maybe down the road we can build that, but I don't think we do it right now.
Adam, back to you. What do both of you think of our business climate right now in Watertown? What's your feel? Do you think we're rolling along pretty well? Are we in a decline? Where do you think we are?
Well, from a sales tax aspect, we're obviously in a decline. I mean, that's what it's been the last couple of years. I looked at the last 2 years, and we took a slight dip in 2015 and 2016. We took a little bit bigger dip. So obviously, from a sales aspect of that, whether that's through online sales, it's hard to really put that into a for sure amount, because you don't know the amount of money that's getting sold online. But we have opportunities we need to make sure that we are taking those opportunities, and if there's a business that makes sense to bring them in, then, you know, we can get more tax dollars, then I think we're ripe for an opportunity for people to come in. I mean, we have some buildings available, we have space available. I know they did the uptown area to see if there's something with the group that came out of Alabama about trying to put businesses into the uptown area, which would be a twofold benefit. But I think we have opportunities, we just need to make sure we capitalize on them when they're available.
I think our economy is a little bit on the rebound. Like I said, we've got quite a few factories looking to hire people. I think in the other aspect, the flip side of that is when you look at what our unemployment rate is versus what some of the other communities in the area's unemployment rate is, a little bit more than some of those are. But I think we've got a lot of good things going. I think we can do better though. And what that's going to entail is making the city harder to sell to business, industry, and families.
We'll stay with Jason. What is your vision for new developments coming to town? What changes, if any, would you make to the current process that would not only protect the city and its taxpayers, but also keep private development moving forward?
What I'd like to see is reestablish a workforce, get our current employers taken care of first, so they get enough help that they need to adequately expand what they want to expand with their businesses. Then possibly look at bringing some new business and industry into town, expand that tax base. We've got all the amenities here in place now, and we need to take a look at that, sell that city, and get those people to move here, fill the needs that the city already needs for its workforce, and then we can look at attracting other business and industry to Watertown.
Is that the type of development they're talking about, or are they talking about actual developments?
I think you can interpret it any way you like.
Okay. If you're talking about developments, like building developments and stuff like that, housing developments, there's not many there. We can do parks and things of that nature with positive drainage and have everything in place. We're talking about developing business acumen. We need to make sure that we have spots available, which we do have development court, development court in consideration with the city do have available to put businesses in. We have them, we just have to make sure that we can find the right industry to put them in there.
Next question about jobs and business development and growth. We both have heard you talking about that quite a bit. Adam, first the question for you. What are your thoughts on aggressively pursuing new businesses, whether they be retail or manufacturing, what have you, to expand the tax base that you guys talk about, and do it in a way where you can still respect the businesses that are already here? Because in essence, you're bringing them competition to town. Is that a good thing?
Well, I mean, most people would say competition is a good thing. We don't want to kill the small business by bringing in business, big business, but at the same time, we can't stop businesses that want to move here. So I think you have to take into consideration whether both of them can survive, and if we're recruiting heavy business, which usually when you get into development corporation and the governor's office of economic development, they try to find a business that works for your area, that has the workforce that you'll be able to pull from, and you'd have qualified skilled laborers to put into it. So we need to make sure that if there's a business out there that we can fill in and it would be a great fit for our town, we need to go after them hard. And when you run into other cities going for the same business, it gets a little bit cutthroat. So we need to make sure that we're ready to step up to that challenge and have it go forward for Watertown instead of other places.
Yeah, competition in some instances is good, like you said, but the other thing too is you got to get that workforce in place first. You got to get families moving. You got to attract those businesses, sell your city, show them what you have here. Votech is a great asset for a lot of industry that wants to move into town. Once that industry comes, you need a lot more retail to support that, to support those families' needs and wants. I think if we aggressively pursue some industry after we take care of the industry already have here, they're filling their job needs, and I think, yeah, we want to go after industry as much as we can.
Jason will come back to you, and I'm back on Lake and Pesca again. As of late, Roger Foote from our Upper Big Sioux Water Project put forth some ideas as to what we can maybe do long-term in cleaning up the lake. If either one of you are elected, where are you gonna come in on that? Are you gonna be behind some projects to clean the lake, to get in there and be aggressive, as Mike was talking about some of the other things?
Yeah, I would support anything we can do to take care of the lake. It's a great asset to our community, it's a great asset to our sportsmen, and get people like to boat, jet ski, good hunting in the area, so it's a good sell for Watertown. We need to do what we need to do to protect that. Work with our neighbors up north, look at other options like dredging, the lake, cleaning it up, but I think we need to, make that one of our priorities. And that's another thing that will come hand in hand with attracting families to Watertown.
I feel that we can be aggressive on it, but at the same time, we need to make sure that financially it's feasible for the Watertown to do it. The biggest thing that we'd be able to do is to get federal grant money. There's EPA money out there. We just have to go out and locate that and be able to get that in place. If we have that, I think there'd be a fantastic opportunity for us as a community to make Lake Nebraska better, make Pelican better. I know they have some issues with some fertilizer and some of that. We had some fish killed the last couple of years, so we make sure that we're cognizant of that.
And we're done with questions. Now you each get 2 minutes closing statement. Starting again with Adam.
My wife and I moved back to Watertown 11 years ago after living abroad in several states in the upper Midwest and things like that. We felt that Watertown was a fantastic place to raise our children. The community has been very good to our family. My entire family does live in Watertown still, which is a testament to the community in general. I hope to have the opportunity to get back to Watertown, and by serving on city council, they try to be a strong voice not only for Ward B, but all the citizens of Watertown and Codington County as well. We work hand in hand with both of them. I would like to thank the people that are in attendance today. I know that their time is valuable, and that it's always tough to get out in nice weather that we're having and come in and sit, although the air conditioning does help. To the audience at home, I appreciate them listening in, and to our moderators, I appreciate you guys coming and spending your time and doing it for us. I'd like this opportunity to get back to Watertown, and would appreciate your vote on June 20th. And early voting is open at the City Hall right now, so feel free to just go up there right now. Well, not now, tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
I decided to run again. I ran a few years ago, and I lost, and we were in the process of looking for a new house. I wanted to drastically downsize my yard and upsize my house, and I didn't know what ward I was going to end up in, so I ended up in Ward B. Decided I'd like to run again. Lifelong resident of Watertown. Community's always been good to me. Like I said, my parents are both from Watertown. And my motto kind of is to give back to the community that's given so much to me. I've been employed at the same employer for 29 years now. And got 3 kids here that are here. Luckily, I've got 2 granddaughters that I can't say enough about. And I just want to give back to the community that's taking care of me. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and invite the Ward D candidates to come up. D as in dog, yes.
Yeah.
Before we start with the Ward D candidates, a little announcement. There's a thing in politics called conflict of interest, or potential conflict of interest. And since Mike Tanner works at the same radio station that one of the candidates does, we're not going to let him participate in this part of the forum. But we're going to let him sit. We're going to let him sit here with us. This is our Ward D candidates from my left, Randy Tupper, the incumbent, Joe Snyder, and Josh Wire, the challengers. You've drawn cards. What can you tell me what order you were in? 1, 2, 3. Okay. And you'll each get 2 minutes for an opening statement before we start questions. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joe Snyder. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who made this forum possible. I do believe anytime sincere people come together with the main goal of public service, that something special is in fact happening. I want to thank my fellow candidates of Ward D for sharing my goal of helping Watertown, and to thank my family, especially my beautiful wife, for being so supportive of me as I run for City Council. I've been a lifelong resident of Watertown. I reside in Watertown with, like I said, my beautiful wife and of course our dog, Rio. I'm one of 7 kids. I was raised by 2 amazing parents who instilled in me the importance of honesty, integrity, and compassion. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am today. I graduated from Great Plains Lutheran High School in 2009 and obtained my associate's degree right here at Lake Area for business marketing and management. I am part owner and broker of Diamond Realty, and I've been in real estate for almost 4 years. I have played on our city's golf courses. I have gone with family to our city parks to watch my nephews and nieces play. I have swam and fished in our lakes. We live in a beautiful town. And how do I know it's so beautiful? It's that one of our world's greatest artists made a living by painting scenes inspired by places right here in Watertown. If elected to represent Ward D in our city council, I will listen to our residents' concerns. I will be their voice. I will always remain level-headed, ready to take constructive criticism. I will pursue an agenda that benefits everyone, regardless of your income, the amount of time you've lived here, or your story. I will seek advice from professionals and individuals who have experience when it comes to making decisions for our community. I will always look out for the greater good of our town and its residents. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josh Wye, and I'm running for Ward D. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's important, I think, to have these forums so you can get yourself some education about the candidates and their beliefs and their thought process. It's good to see the crowd here. Of course, I'd like to see 300-400 people here, but maybe they're all watching online. So if you're watching online in the comfort of your own home with a bag of Doritos, I guess that's where you chose to be, and I'm glad you're watching tonight. Some history about me. I was born and raised in Watertown, actually just south of Sandy Shores. My family, my mother, and my brothers and sisters, we moved to Watertown in 1987. So I've always had that connection with Watertown, being born and raised here and living here. I'm very passionate about Watertown. In my 20s, I made a goal, actually, that when I was 30, I was going to leave Watertown and see what was out there. And as I got closer, I realized Watertown is where I want to be. I don't want to go anywhere else. And I've been here ever since, and I don't ever plan on leaving. This is my community. This community has been so good to me, and I'm ready to give back, and that's why I'm running. I think we need growth in Watertown. We've got some issues with jobs, and that concerns me. And I'm heavily involved in the community. The things that I am involved in, I just didn't start serving yesterday. I've got the Salvation Army Advisory Board, the Watertown JCs, the Northeastern General Auxiliary, Caring Capers Board, a cast member. I'm a Mason, a volunteer center board member. I belong to the Optimist Club and a Meals on Wheels volunteer. And I give back because this community has given me so much. And I appreciate your vote on June 20th.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Randy Tupper. I'm the incumbent in Ward D. Thank you all for being here tonight and putting this on, and thanks to the chamber. And I wish Mike could ask me questions, but he can't. So, the last 4 years has been very humbling to me. It was my goal many years ago to give back to the community. I mean, Watertown's been great to me. I've lived here my whole life. I've raised my family here. I got grandkids that live here. I want to make Watertown the best place we can for everybody. It's been, like I say, very humbling for me to do this for the past 4 years. I look forward to another 4 years, yet the voters seek me to continue on. Some of the things that I did, not only on the city side, but I've been an active member of the Watertown Area United Way for, I believe, 12 or 13 years. I sit on their board of directors. Past president of the Boys and Girls Club. I've sat on their board for many, many years. I'm the board chair at Watertown Area Transit. I think I've been on their board for 15 years. It's one of those ones they don't let you go, put it that way. So, been involved in a lot of things in the community. Why? Because Watertown's been very grateful to me. I mean, they've given me a lot of opportunities. I like to give back. Watertown is such a great community. If we look at just the skate park deal the other day, somebody put it on their Facebook page that they were given $1,000. That went wild. I mean, people in Watertown started giving. So why do I want to give back to Watertown? Because Watertown's a great place to live, raise a family, and work. Thank you.
So we'll start off with a repeat question from the first board. What do you envision as the largest obstacle facing the city in the next 2 years, and how do you plan to address it?
Well, I get the privilege of being the first one, so pardon if I start shaking or walk off the stage. Yes, please throw water on me. I guess the biggest thing that I think personally is we need to create, not just create jobs, but create jobs that don't just transfer from one place to another. I think we have to bring businesses into town that are going to actually bring more people into Watertown, more families, not transfer from one business to another that doesn't do much. We need to create new types of jobs. And I'm up, right? Oh, I got 30 more seconds. All right, cool. And then obviously on the other side of that, I think we also have to have the good way of life. But we have to make sure that any projects we're doing, that we're looking at it logistically, we're looking at it and being fiscally responsible and making sure that the money that we are spending is going to benefit Watertown and what the upfront costs are going to be and what the overall operating costs are going to be.
Roger, I'll have you repeat the question.
Thank you. What do you envision as the largest obstacle facing the city in the next 2 years, and how do you plan to address it?
I think the largest obstacle in Watertown is you take a look at home sales, you take a look at sales tax, you take a look at the number of employees, and those aren't good. It's not good. Our home sales are down 9.4%. You look at the sales tax, and you compare that to the other communities, and we're down 1 year 0.4%, and then we're up 0.37%. That's not good. You know, when you see other communities up 5-6%. I guess I'm out of time.
Would you like the question repeated, or?
No, I think they're covered. So I think one of the things that we really have to look at is we really have to, and it was told by the last two candidates is workforce development. But what a lot of people don't realize is some of the facilities that we've built over the last few years is workforce development. If you look back to Sioux Falls about 12 years ago, they identified the same thing and they built the big Sanford Pentagon, with all those buildings out there. The things that we need to bring people to town for workforce development are already in place and we're working on.
Well, we're gonna cover some old turf here again, so let's get right into it, and I guess, this deals back with Lake Compesca, and I don't know who's going first here, I kinda lost track of, Josh, okay, we'll go with you. This deals with the lake, and you know, what's your vision out there? Where do you think we need to go? There's, as I mentioned with Roger Foote, he come up with a plan that would start cleaning the lake, and it's gonna cost some bucks to do it, both in the front and the back. Where do you guys come in on that, on the lake?
Sure. The lake is very important. We're nestled in between two lakes, and so we talk a lot about Compesca, but Pelican is just as great. And it's going to cost a lot of money. It is, but it's a gem that we have, and we need to spend that money and get that lake to where it is that gem again in our community. And it's going to take some time. It's not just an overnight process. And I think the ideas that Roger has come up with is those are great ideas, and it's going to get us moving in the right direction. And I know it's going to cost money, but it's something that we have to do, and we need to pack those beaches. You see the pictures of the heyday of Lake Compesca. That's what I want, you know, cars for miles, basically, that people are enjoying that lake. And it's going to cost us some money, but we're going to have to do that.
Randy?
I wish there was a Upper Big Sioux River watershed project 50 years ago. That's the problem. I mean, we let Lake Compesca go for way too many years. It's one of Watertown's greatest assets, I think, and I think we've forgot about it for too many years. And a lot of people have heard me talk over the years that, you know, we forget about it. And Roger did a tremendous job of working with our ag partners up north to get them to reduce runoff and pollutants into our watershed. And we need to continue working on that, but we also need to try to figure out a way of getting some of that sediment out of the lake that's there now.
Can you repeat the question one more time? Haven't heard it enough tonight yet, so.
Yeah, the question is, Joe, in terms of Lake Compesca, what would you be supportive of some of the things that are being talked about in terms of going in and cleaning the lake? It's going to take a lot of bucks to do it, both in the planning and the actual implement stage.
Yep, as the saying goes, it's a total joke that in South Dakota we have two seasons. We have construction season and we have winter. And construction season, of course, is summer, the summer months. In the summer months, people want to spend money. Lake Compesca is a huge asset for Watertown. We need to have more things like the Cooking on Compesca. Every time I miss that event, I'm very disappointed. We have to have more things like that. Maybe we have an outdoor movie showing. I don't know what the cost would be, but there are things we can do to utilize that lake, I think, better.
Could you repeat your answer, please, Josh? One city council member has come forward saying that the city should hire a public works director to look at long-term planning and setting a strategy so things don't get out of sync. Do you agree this assessment is in the best interest of the community?
Well, did he actually say city planner, or is he looking for a city manager? Public Works Director. A number of years ago, we used to have a Public Works Director. I believe it was when Mayor Williams took office that we got rid of the Public Works Director. I see a plus to it, and I think we really should look at it. I think there's a lot of things that happen in the community that, you know, when there's building going on and stuff, it gets overlooked of some of the projects that they're doing. It isn't checked on close enough to make sure that we're following everything. Nothing against the staff that we have. They're just taxed at what the projects they have. So I think it'd be worth looking at and seeing if we can put that position back in place.
Go ahead, Roger.
One city council member has come forward saying that the city should hire a public works director to look at long-term planning and setting a strategy so things don't get out of sync. Do you agree this assessment is in the best interest of the community?
Yeah, we've been, like Randy said, we've been out with without a public works director for some time. And I think it's a position that we need to take a look at as a city council and bring back. I think they have a lot of responsibilities and they can bring a lot to kind of give us that guidance. And I think that position should be determined or looked at through the council and in the future here, and possibly bring that individual back or a new individual in.
I remember the question, don't worry. He's like, I'm not going to say it again. I think that yes, it is a good idea. However, obviously, I don't know 100% what the answer is. We need to talk to the citizens, we need to talk to the residents, we need to talk to city council, everyone who's involved to see if this is something that is in fact needed, and if the dollars spent to hire someone like that is worth the return that we get from it.
I think we've been through the cycle. All right, Joe, we're back to you with this question then, and it's a question we asked before, dealing with the floodplain management, primarily, the flood insurance issue that we're dealing with in Watertown. Where's your thoughts at, all three of you, where we need to go in the future to mitigate all this?
Well, I am obviously, as a real estate agent, I deal with this a lot. I just had some clients who actually ended up having to spend about a year and a half in the floodplain paying for it, and they found out they could get taken out of it. To me, I personally don't like the fact that you can get put in the floodplain and all of a sudden you pay X amount of dollars for a year and a half, and they just take your money, and it's like, oh, by the way, you can get out of it. So I think there is stuff that needs to be done. Now, financially, what is it going to take? I don't know that answer. We have to look at the books, we have to consult professionals, we have to see if any other cities have been faced with the same problem and see what they've done to go ahead and mitigate it and see what we can do from there.
The city has worked with FEMA in the past, and I think we need to work again with them and see if there's anything that we can do. They kind of have a stronghold on us. They come in, they say this is the way it's going to be, and sometimes there's no wiggle room. So I think we need to be on their side, and we need to look at that and how we can possibly advance ourselves out of that and take a look, whether it's she tells me I'm out of time.
I think the first thing we need to do is follow FEMA's rules. I mean, whether you like them or not, they're the ones that put them in place. And I think there's been a couple of times that in the past, and I'm talking many years ago, that there was people that kind of pushed the gray line a little bit on the rules, and it kind of put some property back in that shouldn't be in. But I think we work with FEMA, the property owners work with FEMA. There is some, like you said, some mitigation there that if you work hard enough, you can get back out of that. So not everybody.
Just 30-second follow-up to all three of you. So what kind of proactive measures would you take as a council person, an alderman, to move some action forward to get more of these properties out? Do you think it's an individual property owner? Or
Well, I think that's where it's got to start as an individual property owner. He's got to feel his being in the floodplain to FEMA, and then he's got to spend the money to have somebody come out and do the elevations and stuff. But we got to give everything we can with those people to help them out and guide them through that process.
Joe and Josh?
Yeah, I think the city needs to step in and help those homeowners that want to go up against FEMA. They're a big group, and as a homeowner, you're just a little guy. So I think if you have the city backing you on that and helping you through the process, maybe you can make more headway. Obviously, we might, as a city, have some more contacts than the average homeowner would, and it's important to work with them because these people live in our community. They're paying taxes, and we're representing them. So I will be right beside them, working the details with them.
Again, this is very near and dear to my heart because I just had some clients that went through this. So yes, I believe that there's things we can do. I think we need to educate the average homeowner of what actually are the measures, the fact that you do have to pay $350 to have them come survey it again, do the elevation survey. You have to pay the application fee to get the LOMA. There's things that people they're not aware of it. And I think we have to educate them on what they actually have to do to get out of the floodplain, because there are little things such as just putting a little mound of dirt in front of your driveway that gets you out, so we just have to educate them. It's like Russian roulette.
This just came from the audience with should Watertown hire a city manager and change the mayor's position to a part-time ceremonial post?
The talk of a city manager has been talked at in extent over the years with the council. I think it's an issue that could be revisited, and at the time, the council decided that that wasn't something for the city. Is it now? I'm not quite sure. Then it changes the position of the mayor. With a city manager, it's going to cost you a lot more than a mayor. The wage of a city manager is a lot higher than a mayor. And then you still have a part-time mayor or a full-time mayor, maybe with less duties. They may have less of a wage, but hiring another employee, you're talking more money out of the city budget. But I think it could be revisited and maybe a study group put together and make a recommendation to the council.
By home rule charter, every 5 years, the city has to appoint a group, and every council person appoints 2 people to sit on this group, and we visit, or I shouldn't say we, they visit over the way we run the city. Is there 2 council people per ward? Do we have a full-time mayor, or do we have a city manager? That was visited, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago. And like I say, they'll come up again because it comes up every 5 years, but at that time they felt that the way we run the city was the proper way.
First off, for me to go ahead and sit here and talk and pretend like I know exactly what the answer is would be a fallacy. I don't. But I can tell you that I've done some research and I've seen what other cities in South Dakota are doing. And obviously some of them are doing things such as Brookings are doing things that obviously are working economically for the city, that I think that our town has to, yes, we should revisit it. We should look at it. Because if there's something that we can do as a whole, if that's going to help our town move forward, then so be it.
Okay, I think we're back to Randy. One of the big capital projects straight ahead is the ice arena. Can you all three just chime in on that a little bit, where we are with it? How do you feel about it? Are we doing the right thing?
I don't know if it's fair to my 2 competitors here, but I've been sitting on the ice arena committee. We've spent a lot of time. A lot of people think we're just pulling numbers out and we want to build this thing, but it's just like the wellness center. There's been a lot of time, a lot of effort put into designing this building and working on the building and making sure that we're building the right facility for the community. It's the hockey people have been involved, the ice skating people have been involved. Everybody's been very involved in this. So just not too long ago, I seen a post on Facebook where the city of Brookings was giving the Ice Skating Association an award for hosting the state hockey tournament, because they figured it was about a $2.5 to $3 million impact on that community. That's a lot of money. A facility, our facility is way outdated. We can't host a tournament. It's just another one of those quality of life issues that we need to address.
First and foremost, I'm going to start off by saying that if you think you're ever going to see me skating in the ice arena, you will not. I cannot skate. I tried and I thought. I will say this though, is that I do hope my kids get my genes for not being able to skate, because I know how much it costs to play hockey, and it's a pretty penny. And obviously those people who are coming in, if we can hold state hockey and do those things, I think that could give our economy a significant boost. We just have to look at the overall numbers to see what it's going to cost, and I'm hoping it does well. So.
Of course, the ice skating rink, that money is coming from something that the voters already approved, coming out of that bond issue, is where that money is coming from. I think it's going to bring those people in. When you can go down to Brookings and see that it's bringing in $2 to $3 million. That's huge. We want that money. We want that money in Watertown. We want those people here. There's some question about should they spend the extra $600,000 so that it can be open more. $600,000, if you look at the longevity of it, I think it's going to be worth it. Look at how we cut corners on the event center.
Time is up, Josh. Sorry. And Joe, you're up.
Yeah, I'm guessing right now, yes.
What is the biggest area of concern in your ward?
The biggest area of concern in my ward, I think obviously, I don't want to call it really a concern, but obviously we have Lake Erie right here, so I think a lot of the residents want to know what is the future growth of Lake Erie and what to expect. I think there's certain roads that have to be looked at and fixed. For one example, I believe it's 12th Street. I drive that road every day I go to work. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but I think that needs to be looked at. I also know that the bumps on Arrow Avenue, which I think is just basically for filtering the water to get it from one area to another, so that's probably needed. But basically, I think the biggest thing would be Lake Area right here and what the future holds.
I think that when I go up knocking on doors and when I talk to people and when people approach me, spending. That always seems to be the first thing on their minds. The city's spending a lot of money, and that's what concerns people. So, number one, spending is what I'm hearing, and then stagnant, moving forward. People want to see the Watertown move forward. They want their grandkids to stay here. They want their children to stay here. They want to stay here. So those are the two things that I hear from people when I talk to them.
Well, the biggest concern in any ward would be safety. I mean, we do have some problems on our street nowadays. We're not the only city that's facing this. One of my things that I want to make sure is that the police department is well staffed, that we take care of the whole community, but also Ward D. But spending is also a thing that they've talked about when I've been out knocking on doors. But they kind of go hand in hand. You got to spend a little money to get a little something, and like I say, that's a lot of in the long-term plan of workforce development, bringing other companies to town.
We back to you, Josh, or back to Ryan? Can't remember. I'm losing track here. Well, one of the questions, there's been a buzz about town in the last week or two about the Gas Opera House and that it's exchanging ownership, and as it goes forward, how should the ownership go? Should there be a public or a private or maybe a public partnership? What do you, as a council person and alderman, think maybe the city's role might be in keeping that gem alive and well downtown?
It's very vital to our downtown, but it is a private entity. I don't think that I would be in favor of spending city-owned or city tax dollars to keep it alive. I mean, I definitely want to see it stay alive. It's very vital to the downtown revitalization. But, there's been mention of maybe moving the museum over there. That would help. But like I say, I would not be in favor of taking tax dollars to keep it going.
Yeah, that's a private business, and the city's not for making out loans to private businesses and to loan them $900,000. That's just not something that I see that the city should be involved in doing that. It's a great facility, but they have to figure out how to make it on their own, and I don't think we need to be giving them money or anything like that. Should we support them? Oh, 100% we should support them, but it's not the case to loan them money.
I agree with the fact that it is a private sector. It's not the government's or the city's responsibility to loan out any kind of money. I think if anything, we do want to look at the fact that it is an intricate part of downtown and the revitalization of it. If anything, just giving some kind of advice, trying to figure out something we can do that can host events there. It's a beautiful building. I think there are things that the city can do to just not monetarily support them, but maybe just in a guidance type of way.
All right, that wraps up our questions. Now we'll each You'll each have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and I have no idea who's going to start, so.
I believe I have to start. That's what they told me, so I'm going to start. First, I want to say thank you to the hundreds of Watertown residents that I've talked to, the ones who signed my petition for office, and the countless others who have already called, emailed, or simply stopped by to talk to me about their ideas on how to keep Watertown the generous and thriving community it already is. If elected to this post, I will follow 3 basic principles as I serve as a council person of Ward D. First, I will decide my vote based off the input I hear from you, the people and residents of Watertown. To help ensure I do so, I will work to increase access to the city council by offering regularly scheduled office hours where you can talk to me in person. I won't be just a signature in an email or post on a Facebook page. I'll be accessible to you, and I'll listen to your ideas and take them to heart. The second principle will be to ensure we spend our tax dollars wisely. Anytime I need to vote on legislation that will cost money, I will ask 2 simple questions. Can we afford this? And will these dollars be spent in order to clearly benefit the residents of Watertown? If the answer is affirmative to both of these, I'll consider the legislation worthy of our city government. And the final principle deals with who city council should represent, and that is everyone. I promise that if elected to city council, I will fight to ensure that our local government is never just for one class or sector of our community. It should be, and always will be, for all residents and all people of our fantastic little community. I will serve you with these principles in mind, and I ask for your vote on June 20th to serve as your next city council person of Ward D. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Chamber for this opportunity to be here tonight and get to know your representatives, and especially the representatives of Ward D. And that's the people I'm going to represent, the people of Ward D, my neighbors, the people that I see every day. I want to be the voice and the face of Ward D. I want people to know how to get a hold of me, whether they call or they text or they see me at an event. I want that connection with the people. I'm out in the community all the time. I want people to tell me what they think, what's going on, if they disagree with me, if they agree with me. We didn't talk about Uptown Watertown too much. Uptown Watertown, you take, there's a couple of business owners that are here tonight that are just passionate about Uptown Watertown. We need that, and those are the things that we need in the community. Look at what they've done with some of those buildings, and whether you're scraping the floors or helping whatever, those are the kind of people that move Watertown, and those are the people that keep things moving forward, and I want to be a part of moving Watertown forward. And I'm going to follow the rules. When decisions are brought to us or when things are brought to us, following ordinances, following the rules. That's very important to look at that and determine is this rule being broken? Are we following the rules? But most of all, I want to represent the people of Ward D, and I wish that you would vote for me on June 20th. You can ask me questions before you vote, and if you elect me, you can definitely ask me questions after. So I appreciate your vote on June 20th, and I thank you again for all being here tonight.
Is there clapping before I start? That's pretty nice. Well, as I said before, it's been a humbling 4 years. I mean, it's been very exciting for me, and it's been something I've wanted to do my whole life, and I look forward to hopefully serving another 4 years. There's a lot of challenges Watertown has right now, and as the opponent talked earlier, workforce development's one of them. We definitely need to take care of some things that, like Compesca, because, like I said, if anybody asks me, it's one thing that I think we've forgotten over the years, and we need to take care of that. But I will not only be the voice of Ward D, I will be the voice of all the taxpayers in the city of Watertown. I've always been very easy to contact and get a hold of, and I've taken a lot of pride and a lot of time and effort after hours to work with a lot of residents of Ward D to help them resolve some issues. Sometimes they don't always like the answers that they get, but sometimes laws are laws, and we gotta, when somebody calls you and asks you about dandelions that are 10 foot tall, or maybe not that tall, but when you gotta give them the answer that they don't like to hear, it's not always fun to be able to do that either. But I felt that in the last 4 years that the city council, I've worked with 9 other great council people. I mean, you can't ask for better people, and I'm born and raised in Watertown. I think right now we have 10 of the best people up there that we could ever have. And it's been a privilege to work with Mayor Thorson. Like I say, I look forward to another 4 years. I would like to thank everybody that's in this audience tonight because they've taken time out to really think that this is important. You know, we're the ones that's going to represent them for the next 4 years. I'd like to thank each and every one of them because it is important to them. I was born and raised in Watertown. I raised my family here. I want to make sure that Watertown continues to go forward, but in a responsible way, because I want my kids and my grandkids to be able to enjoy the things that I have.
You want to use your phone? Oh, you just got my phone.
I was thinking, oh my God.
You guys.
Okay, we're ready for the Ward E forum, and now that the panel of moderators outnumbers the candidates, we'll keep things in better order this time. On my left is Dan Albertson, the incumbent. On the right is Liam Paulhane, the challenger, and we will each, who drew number 1. So we'll each get 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then we'll start the questions. Mr. Albertson, with an EN.
First of all, thank you to the Chamber and to all of you who are doing the moderating here. It's not an easy task, we know that, but it's just more volunteerism that happens in the community. Thanks to all of you who showed up here tonight. Also, your giving of your time and hoping you're finding out some information about people who make good decisions. For the people on the television, online, thanks to you for paying attention to this too, because Liam and I think this is important or we wouldn't be up here. So 47 years ago when I came to Watertown, I thought, you know what, this is a nice community. I've really changed my mind in 47 years. This isn't a nice community, this is a great community. And we have lived here raising 3 kids. Sandy and I have 3 children. They've gone through the school system, had a great experience in Watertown for a variety of reasons. I mean, part of it was the school system, of course. I was in there for 40 years, so I had to say that. But the other 47 is that, the other reason is that the city offered our kids about every experience that they needed to be successful as they moved on. We have educators in our system, in our kids, and other than job potentials, they just didn't come back to Watertown, but when they do come back, they're really, really impressed with what's happening in Watertown right now. I think we're on an upswing, and it's been a real joy to serve for the last 4 years. You know, I didn't know what it was going to be like when I got in there, but it's been a real learning curve for me, and now I'm ready to take on the next 4 years. So thank you to all of you.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everybody for coming out. We live in such an incredible, incredible community. There's so much activism, there's so many people involved, and I think it's really great to see some young people here tonight, both on stage and in the crowd. I think that's really important. My name is Liam Culhane. I was born in Watertown. I've lived almost my entire life in Watertown, besides 4 years at SDSU and 3 years in Colorado. 2 years ago, I decided to move back for a couple of different reasons. But the main reason was that I love this community, and it has treated me very, very, very well. Growing up, it was a safe, supportive place. It was an incredible place to grow up. I had wonderful teachers, wonderful administrators. I don't know if Dan would say the same of me as a pupil. But it was really a wonderful, it's been a wonderful coming of age. And I wanted to come back, not only to raise a family, but to continue the tradition of community involvement and giving back to my community. Both my mother and my father have been active members in this community for a long time. My father has moved away. I almost said moved on. He's moved away, but he participated in this community, and my mother and my father are really, truly my role models, and they set a good example for me about giving back to the community. So win, lose, or draw, I figured I'd run for city council and try to do that. Just try to give back a little bit and try to bring my own experiences and what I see and what I think are important to that.
Same opening question as the last two. What do you believe is the largest obstacle facing the city in the next 2 years, and how do you plan to address it?
I really think that we have a major obstacle right now with the lake. I think that if we don't get that lake under control, and I've heard from lots of people in 4 years, and we've kind of backpedaled and let the lake get worse and worse and worse. We have a great resource with Roger on the watershed project, and he's coming to our council saying, here's what you better do, and if you want to clean up the water, here's what we have to do. It starts with the weir that we just put in. You know, that weir was letting all that water go downstream, and we weren't doing anything. But he's offered us some opportunities here that the city can take care of and work with. And I think we better listen to our experts on that, because the city, I think, has that obstacle that's going to get worse if it doesn't get better.
You're going to find that Dan and I don't disagree on a whole lot. In terms of the biggest issue that I think we're facing in the near term is sales tax revenue generation. Our sales tax revenue we're in a bad way, and when that makes up a primary portion of our budget, we need to figure out what to do about that, especially when we're increasing expenditures. So that, I'm not entirely sure what the best route is, but that's what I want to throw my effort into, is figuring out what we can do to keep those dollars here in town and increasing.
We'll start with Liam on this next one. It's good to be back. Dan, I know that Dave and I were at a city council meeting the night that you announced that you were going to run for re-election, and you told us then that the reason was because of the unfinished business at the lake and getting it cleaned up. I'm not a water engineer. I don't know how you clean up a lake. There's talk about dredging and other things, and obviously the costs are going to be very expensive. Where does the money come from?
Do you want me to take that?
Both of you. I mean, we'll start with Liam, then that's fine.
Okay with it.
Okay. Whichever, I don't care who takes it first, but obviously I don't know what the final plan is going to be. All I know is it's going to cost a whole lot of money. Where does it come from?
Well, it depends what portion you're talking about. I think what Roger has mentioned in his presentations is there's some low-hanging fruit and there's some bigger projects. In terms of where the money comes from, that's a fine question. There is a property tax levy, I believe, at the lake, right, the water district. I don't think, we can't raise that kind of money from there. I don't know if there's federal grants that we can access, if we can do a combination of grants, fundraising. You know, people really cringe when you talk about raising taxes. I don't know what the best solution is, and I will openly, honestly say that, but I will throw myself into figuring out what that solution is. I think what we need to do in the near term is get the low-hanging fruit. I think that's reducing sediment inflow. You know, I think Roger talked about a secondary weir. Weirs are not cheap, but compared to dredging, they're cheap. And that prevents stuff from coming in. So that's kind of a lower-hanging fruit.
Just to piggyback on what Liam just said, because I think we are a lot on that, because we've listened to Roger, and Roger has told us there are things we can do, and we need to do them. And I think the sooner we get started on that. Is it going to be expensive? Talk to the people that have $500,000 or $600,000 homes out there. They can't put their docks in. That's pretty expensive for them. I'm telling you right now, they're not happy. And I think that it behooves the City of Watertown to take that gem and make something good of it.
Is there a follow-up? No. If not, we'll go ahead.
I'd only add that some of these expenditures, if we think of them as investments as opposed to expenditures, it might be a little easier pill to swallow.
Dan, anything else for you on that one? All right, I want to keep it on the lake then. We talked about this earlier tonight, and it's kind of along the same lines. This is the mitigation issue that's, you know, the big in the room gorilla. What do both of you gentlemen think? How do you feel going forward? We're not doing too much to mitigate it right now, except egg systems up north, that kind of thing. Should we be doing more than that? This kind of leads us back to that flood insurance topic.
Well, the flood insurance is really a bad topic for the people in Watertown. I think that they're having to pay that. But part of it is because we haven't done anything to help the lake process out. You know, don't forget that Roger and his people and the legislature have offered money for farmers to put 50 feet on each side of the river to slow that sediment down so it doesn't come down. That's one of the things. It's kind of a hidden thing right now that's happening. At a couple of council meetings ago, there was a fellow, now I can't think of his name, but Roger had brought him talking about putting a bit of a dam out in front of the water so it would settle, drop the settlings before it gets into the lake. And then, of course, the second part is we have to dredge the lake. We have to start dredging that lake. And they tell me that there is a dredge available that we could rent or lease or buy or something. And you know, it's expensive, but if we take a little bit out every year, it's way better than an X.
Are we talking about flood mitigation, or are we talking about sediment mitigation?
Both, as we tie together.
Well, I think we need to continue to work with the Water man, it's a heck of an acronym. The Water District Project, making sure that we're cooperating with farmers to limit the drainage that they're experiencing on their fields. They're doing that through some collection ponds, some wetland preservation aspects. In terms of the flood question, I don't entirely know what the best answer is to prevent another 1997 flood. I don't know what the best answer is, and I don't know if there is one. I'm not getting this figured out eventually.
Yeah, and how do you two feel about the city manager versus mayor issue? Should we hire a city manager and have a part-time mayor or not?
In my personal opinion, yes. I believe that we should hire a city manager and switch to a part-time mayor. I believe with a city our size and with some of the particular issues that we face, we would be benefited by having a full-time person that who manages the department heads, right? A city manager. You get the continual institutional knowledge. You don't get somebody who gets booted out every 4 years or 8 years. And it removes a lot of the political aspects of it. That way, you know, running a city doesn't need to be political. It doesn't need to be a political thing. We need to make sure our roads are taken care of, we need to make sure there's proper drainage, we need to make sure there's, the streets are plowed. That doesn't need to be us versus them issue. It doesn't need to be a political issue. So the more that we can take an objective approach, and I think a city manager would do that, that's my opinion on it.
I really wouldn't be opposed maybe to a city manager, but 3 years ago or 2 years ago, we had a study group in Watertown that told the city council, you guys do your job and we won't need a city manager. And so I'm still going with that philosophy that a group told us that we don't need one, that we can do it, and city council, get off your duffs and do your job. And then help the mayor or the people in Watertown make these decisions, and then we don't have to have a city manager. City manager.
All right, next up, I'll repeat a question that I asked earlier tonight, and that is on the jail. I like to get feedback on the candidates, even though it's the county's responsibility. Obviously, Watertown has a huge part to play in solving this jail issue, if it does get solved, depending on what the voters decide. But just point blank, is it time to build a new jail and bite the bullet here, or can we push it down the road another couple years or whatever until, if it comes back again? What are your thoughts?
I believe what the people are telling us on the county. I believe that we need a jail. You think about the numbers that they talk about, but you have a difference in women, in children, and people that are convicted of crimes. They can be in one area. It's not really very easy to put 86 people and just say, here you go to jail, because you have to have different things. So all of a sudden, 86 may be the same thing as 120. So I believe that we need this jail. I think that it's going to cost us a lot more. One of the problems that I had with this is I would love to have seen the people go with it, the county people go with it one more time, because I also believe that we could use what they projected, but numbers spoke for themselves. It said 80 to 20 said no, and I can understand why they made it smaller, but I think we need it, so the answer, I guess, is yes.
I hate to draw ire, but absolutely. I was in the jail this morning, not as an inmate. I should always clarify that. I do a little bit of work in the jail, and so I've got some particular knowledge with it. Not only is it not just the jail, the entire court system in Codington County is bogged down, and so we need it absolutely right now, and we need it soon. It's a safety issue. It's a safety issue for the jail staff, for the auxiliary staff, and also for the inmates.
All right, I guess, Leah, we're back with you. All right, and let's talk about development a little bit again. There have been some talk around town about maybe we're ignoring some proper permitting process and other zoning requirements. How do the two of you come in on this? Are we doing a good job, do you think, with our development right now, growth?
I think that there are some real hot button issues that have gone on in the last 4 or 5 years, and a lot of that has to do with not following the proper process. When you take shortcuts, or when you don't follow the rules that were in place, or maybe they're bad rules, maybe we should readdress what rules are in place, whether that's drainage requirements or what it is. But when you don't follow the rules and people aren't heard, then you end up with some issues. So I think it's important when we're doing development to take a reasonable approach, take an open and honest approach, and we need to have these discussions. We need to discuss the rules. We need to discuss the developments. We need to make sure that it is done in an orderly fashion, and that avoids a lot of the emotional issues and a lot of the frustration and expense down the road when we didn't play by the rules and the development can't go through, or something else comes up, or there's a change or some other issue. So I think it's extraordinarily important that we follow the rules, and if the rules aren't working for us, we need to change them or get rid of them.
Maybe 8 or 10 years ago, Mark Roby walked in and said, Dan, I got an easy job for you. I just say yes. I thought, well, let's give it a whirl. What is it? Sitting on the Plan Commission and the Board of Adjustment. Now, I'll tell you, when you talk about what should we be doing here, that plan commission, those volunteer men and women sit on that, and they work and work and work to try to do what's best for Watertown. And that sometimes includes doing a little revision with things, but if they revise it, it still comes to the city council, and we get the opportunity to say yes or no from what the plan commission or what the Board of Adjustment says. So have we bent some things? I think we probably have. But it comes from 7 people that make a decision, and they send it on to the city council, and the city council gnashes their teeth.
I'm going to keep it just for 2 30-second responses on both of you. Liam, back to you. You've spoken kind of generalities. Can you get to more specifics?
Well, I mean, I don't like to beat around the bush. The Stony Creek, or excuse me, the Stony Point development is a kind of a big deal, right? I mean, there was a big mess. And then now up in the northeastern part of town, is my understanding that there are some issues with drainage, and that has people upset. And so when it's listening to both sides of the issue and talking to folks. The best thing that I can understand from the situation, not having been involved in it, was that we didn't take the proper steps and we didn't take the time to plan it out, or in the instance of Cherry Creek, maybe we looked the other way with some rules, and that led to these issues popping up later on, 4, 5, 6, 10 years down the road.
Mentioning that's really a good point about the northeast area. Yesterday, I was asked to sit in on a committee meeting regarding that, and it's because people have continued to ask us for something to happen up there. And we have a committee meeting tomorrow again now, Plan Commission and Board of Adjustment meeting, and I understand they're going to be there. But we're going to have some things that we're going to talk about as possibilities. One of them being having a big meeting with that group and letting them know what is planned.
Let's talk about downtown Watertown a little bit. What are your thoughts on what's going on down there, and how do we keep any momentum that there is going forward?
I would just say, isn't downtown Watertown exciting right now? You look at the charrette and what that did to downtown. It put the focus on downtown. We took the money away. We don't charge people to be in that anymore, to belong to the downtown. So the city has picked up some revenue there, but the flowers, the statues, the parking lots, the alleyways. I mean, this thing, we're just on full speed. Tomorrow we have an application at the Uptown Renewal Board that somebody wants to renew something that's on their building, and I haven't seen what it is. I'm sorry to say. Randy always reminds me when I've got to be there, and he told me we have a meeting, but it's exciting, I think, because people want to do things. We've added some things. The Goss came up a little while ago. If the city doesn't put money into that, we're going to be in trouble. And I don't mean put money in, I mean giving them time, giving them places so they can have things that go on and that we can support. So
I absolutely love the downtown, big downtown supporter. Could I have about 20 or 30 minutes to talk about it? In terms of what the city can do in the short term, I think there's some real low-hanging fruit. This is going to two-way streets. It's stop signs. It's pedestrian safety. My understanding, both from the charrette and just from wider experiences, is that downtown areas flourish when they are platforms for commerce to take place, when they're not just getting in and out. And right now we have one-way streets and it's just in and out. I don't know. If anybody wants to ask about that, I'll talk about that for hours. So.
We'll start with Liam on this next one. I wanted to ask about jobs and retail. We all know that there are businesses that have either left town or soon will be or are in the process of. I'm just picking your brain a little bit. Do you think the city is doing enough to try and keep these businesses in town? Some cases with national chains leaving, are we just a victim of circumstances and bigger decisions that are being made outside of Watertown? And what about hiring retail strategies and paying them $40,000 a year to go out and try and find retail, restaurant, stores to bring to town? What do you think?
Again, a ton to answer in a short amount of time. I'll get to it as best I can. I think what you're seeing nationwide is a resurgence of downtown areas, and I think that you provide unique business experiences, unique shopping experiences, and then you end up with a wholly new experience as opposed to the big box stores or whatever it be on the edge of town. And I think that's one way that you can fight back against the businesses going out of town, is putting focus and effort downtown. And that's the way that you save your small businesses and you save the local retailers, and that's the way that you fight kind of the large elephant in the room. In terms of retail strategies, in my line of business, I get a lot of cold call sales, and I'm not impressed. I'm just frankly not impressed, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. And I think that they paid lip service to downtown, but I don't think that they would have any real intention of bringing any businesses down there. And I think it just goes back to more of that edge of town development, which I think we need to maybe refocus on the center of town, in town.
I think that 4 years ago, when we did that survey of the community and 2,700 people or 2,500, whatever, took part in it, I think all of a sudden we all decided, you know what, we better just pay a little attention to what's going on in our community. And I think the throwback has been that we've lost some businesses, but I don't think we need to, whether we dare forget the fact that we've added a lot of good things for people to do in our community. And I think it's going to start taking hold. And did I have you in class one time? In my office one time?
More likely. Okay, Dan, we're back to you, I believe. All right, let's, can we talk a little bit about your wish list, if you have one? Going forward, we've done some wonderful things with the Wellness Center. We've got a lot of things in play. Going forward down the way, are there other capital projects do you think we need to do or that would be on your wish list?
Dave, I'm really excited about a couple of them. Number one is a skate park. Probably people disagree with me on that, but you know what? There are so many kids in our town that don't have a thing to do. They don't really latch on in school. They don't. But, you know, last Monday night, we heard that $12,000 or $13,000 is being raised by a bunch of kids in town because they want a bowl. Most of us don't even know what a bowl is, but they want a bowl. And they're willing to raise $25,000 to get it. And, you know, and then you look at the hockey rink. For 40 years, kids would come into school and they were tired because they've been practicing at 10:30, and that happened to be the middle school time. You get 30 to 45 minutes at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. They're just tired at that time. And I think the skate park. But number one for me is the lake. You know, these others, we're going to finish these other things, but we need the lake. We've got to have the lake. We've got to have Lake Pelican. We can't forget about that. We got two great gems.
In terms of a wish list, top three would be low-hanging fruit with the lake, whether that's increased sediment catch, whatever we can do to clean up the lake. Number two is finish the bike trail. There's been no mention today of the bike trail, and maybe that's unpopular, I don't know, but where I live particularly, it's extraordinarily dangerous, and there's no bike path that covers that. I think if we finish that helps tie the lake into the rest of the city, it helps tie the lake into itself, and it adds a lot of quality of life. There's a whole list, but oh, I gotta get the red X.
That's it for questions. You now each get 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Again, I really want to thank everyone for showing up. I have had a wonderful experience, win or lose. This has been very valuable to me. I've had a wonderful opportunity to talk to some of you people. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to talk to some more of you before June 20th. It's been enlightening, and I'm reminded why I moved back to Watertown. I'm reminded that everyone here mostly is really nice, and we can go knocking on doors. I have very few bad experiences, almost none. And I'm frequently reminded what an incredible community this is, and why I love this community, and why that I chose to come back. I hope that you choose me on June 20th. If you don't, you're going to be in good hands anyways. I just want to be able to give back to the city, and I want to hopefully bring some more young folks home like me. Hopefully I'm the first of many.
47 years ago, I thought, what in the world, you know? But now, 47 years later, I think, what a great community we have, and I think what a great start we have to keeping things good for young people. And I agree. I sat in on a meeting with Sanford people the other day, and they said, you know what? Taking people around Watertown today is such a joy, because don't forget, the people that were preceded us built the police department, the fire departments as we see them today. What a great thing that was. And we just continued that by building some quality of life things. But they told me, they took these people around and they said, you know what? We went up to the rec center, and then they go over to the new middle school, and then they go down and see that we have the thought about kids, so we put an intermediate school in. Then we have the Lake Area School of the Year in the United States, and the high school is #2 in their testing. And then they go down and show you where the new ball fields are, and the fact that I'm doing a lot of things to try to recruit young people to town. Because I honestly believe Liam's right on. We have to have things in place to get our young people, and they won't come in to play pinochle, I'll tell you that. Are you pinochle? Anyway, they will not come in if it looks like it's an aged community. They'll come in if it looks like we're on the move. And so I think he's right on, and I think it's going to cost us some money. And I tell you, you go to look at our city council meetings, and we look over to our CFO, and if she says yes, we're probably going to be in. If she says no, we're not going to do it, because we really believe you have to take care of the city and not tax us to death or anything. So thanks to all of you for coming, and it's been great serving, and I hope you vote for me.
We're going to let everybody stretch their legs for just a couple minutes as we reset. Before that, we're actually going to switch moderators, so help me give a round of applause to these three gentlemen for their time this evening. And we'll be back in just a few minutes with the mayor's race. All right, if we can have you find your seats again, we're going to go ahead and get started. We went ahead and reset. We've got our 3 mayor candidates, and then we have 2 moderators for this session. Mike Tanner with Watertown Radio is sitting in, and we brought in a special guest moderator, Lee Schoenbeck, this evening. So same guidelines, same format. A reminder, if you have questions, there's paper and pencils all around. Pass it towards the end, and somebody from the chamber staff would be more than happy to help you get those up front. I would also tell you, too, that as soon as the forum is over on watertownsd.com, which is the chamber website and chamber Facebook page, we're going to hold another straw poll. It'll be up, a post-forum straw poll, and it'll run for 1 week. So log on after the information you've gained this evening.
All right, welcome everybody. The candidates, here's the form we're going to use. First, for the audience, you can send up written questions anytime you want, send them up, and Mike and I will go back and forth with the questions. For the candidates will each have 2 minutes in the opening. They drew numbers. Sarah's first, Mike's second, Steve's third. After that, we're going to take questions and go, each question we put to each of you. You'll have 1 minute to respond, and if we think it's necessary, there'll be a 30-second rebuttal to each of you, and you'll have 2 minutes to close. And forums like this, and the elections are the opportunity for the free exchange of ideas, and you can't do it without candidates. So before anybody's mad, let's give a round of applause to the candidates. Okay, to work. Sarah.
We people of Watertown have this irresistible sense of community pride that drew me to Watertown 22 years ago. My name is Sarah Karen. I'm a licensed civil engineer and a certified floodplain manager, and I have over 30 years of experience in public administration. My family moved a lot, but I spent my early years in South Dakota. I put myself through college with scholarships and by working multiple jobs. I started my career in Washington State. That's where I met my husband, Dwayne, and we had our 3 children there. We've been married for 27 years. We moved to Watertown in 1995, and we've both been very active in the community. I worked for 11 years as an engineer for the City of Bellingham, Washington, and while I was there, I took graduate level classes in public administration, including accounting, economics, finance, ethics, and organizational management. My area of expertise is drainage and floodplain management. I began working part-time for the City of Watertown in 1997 after the flood, and I continued working part-time until 2006 when I came on full-time, and I worked for 11 years as the urban planner, the assistant city engineer, and the acting city engineer. I worked under 4 Watertown mayors and others elsewhere. I'm a driven servant-style leader, and I'm conservative about spending. I want to see a change in the mayor's office to include financial planning as a crucial element of management. With your vote, I will bring about a new level of confidence and pride in city government and lead the way to prosperity by responsibly managing all of our precious resources.
Mike.
Thank you. I came to Watertown about 67 years ago with my dad and mother, of course, but so I've been a pretty long resident of Watertown. I moved away for a few years. I lived up in Webster, South Dakota, which is 46 miles away, and then I came back. I've been on the city council in Watertown. I was on the school board when I was in Webster. I've taken an active role in trying to be with somebody that the community would let stay. I'm a business owner in Watertown. I've paid taxes here ever since I came in. I had started 2 or 3 different businesses. Right now I've got another business that I started here a few years back, and it's doing pretty good. I've always been active. I've been up to almost all the city council meetings. I take them in. The guys get so that they don't know if there's a council meeting unless I'm sitting out there. But I follow them as close as I can to see what's happening in the city of Watertown. I love this community. I like South Dakota passionately. And so I try to take a real active role in what's happening in our city. Right now, we've got some problems that I thought should be addressed, and so that's why I'm running for mayor, and I'll take your questions and go from there. Thank you.
Steve. Well, thank you. I'll pull this up here. I'm not sure where Dan Albertson went, but I know when Liam was up here, he was a student of his. Actually, Dan, wherever you are, if you don't forget, I was in the 7th grade when you came to our school. So I'm actually a student of yours also, Dan. So there you go. Well, I'm Steve Thorson. I'm the mayor of Watertown. I've been the mayor for the past 4 years, and I am so excited for the city. This city has got so much going for it. Prior to that, I've been on the city council for 4 years. And once we started moving the city forward, which we hadn't for about 8 to 10 years, we had just really fallen behind so many other cities. Once I got in 2013, I was actually handed a playbook. And this playbook came from over 2,000 people that took a survey. It was one of the largest surveys ever taken by Market Street. Your playbook actually included that we should be putting together things for quality of life. Quality of life does numerous things. You know, if you watch the others talk about our sales tax down a little bit, well, frankly, the last four months we've been up. We're up 3.39% for the year. But if you take a look at that, people come to Watertown. 30% of all the dollars that are brought into Watertown, our sales tax, are from outside of the city. Those dollars go to pay for your wellness center. Those dollars will go pay for your 5-plex softball field. But I am extremely excited for Watertown, and I think Watertown has nothing but to go straight up and to go through the roof. I just truly, truly love this city. I've been here all my life. My wife, Chris, is back there. 44 years marriage and 18, or 12 grandkids, I'm sorry. It seems like 18 when they show up. Thank you.
Thank you for the audience's information. Dixie/Vanna sitting here has time cards, and so they're following the rules. First question will go to Sarah, and then you can pass it to Mike and then Steve. Sarah, the city-owned utilities, what do you think is the appropriate use of funds generated from the revenues of these city utilities, and do you think those should be used for capital expenditures outside of municipal utilities?
Well, municipal utilities has basically Hello? Municipal utilities collects money for what they do. They provide drinking water, gas, and electricity, and people pay for those services. So they're a revenue-generating organization of the city, and they do have a separate board from the City of Watertown. And some of those funds may be appropriate for sharing, for other amenities that we do in our community, and I know they do put money toward other items, and they help support what goes on in Watertown. I do think that they should be able to invest the funds that they generate back into their utility so that we can keep our rates low, because low rates on the utilities is what makes Watertown attractive to businesses wanting to locate here, and also for the residents that live here.
Yeah, I'm one that believes this utility department is one of the best units that Watertown's ever had. We get the lowest electrical rates in the state, I think, but I know out of all the major cities, we've got the lowest electrical rates, we've got the best gas rates. And they do that by reinvesting the money that they take and put it back into the utility department. And I don't want to see that money bled off for something else. I'd like to keep it right there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think the municipal utilities is one of the finest operations that we have in Watertown. We get a little over $1 million every year that the utilities gives us as a kind of a stipend, I would say. It's a large stipend, but it is a stipend. But one of the things that you have to realize when we go back to our sales tax revenue, that the municipal utilities charges taxes for the natural gas and for the electricity. That's a main, or I should say main, but it's a huge addition to Watertown taxes. They're run very, very well, and they should continue to run as they are.
All right, I guess this next one will start with Mike. And I want to read from a news release from Sarah when she announced that she was running for mayor. It's dated March 22nd. And I'll quote from the news release. And Sarah, you can react to this, and Mike and Steve as well. Sarah said, quote, "I will restore integrity by ending shortcuts, favoritism, and special treatment in city government. I will pull back the curtain on critical decisions being made behind closed doors. Every citizen should be treated the same. Our city government should follow our city ordinances." Is that not happening, Mike? And I'll let Steve and Sarah respond as well.
I haven't really caught a lot of this. I've seen some, not closed door meetings, but meetings that they've had that haven't been announced ahead of time and stuff. I get a little bit upset when I see that, oh, okay, I didn't get notice of that, or I couldn't pick up on it because it wasn't advertised good enough. I try to take in all these meetings, and so I'm kind of conscious of it. But I haven't seen a lot of behind the scenes decisions made.
No, I'm not really sure where that question all came from. You know, and I'm going to be right up front, we do have to have some closed door meetings. And when I say that, when we have retail or we have companies that are coming to Watertown, there's things that they want to say to me, and there's things that I have to sign in confidentiality that we are not going to allow that to get out to the public until that company comes back in and says, we are ready to come to Watertown. If we would have put out the Hobby Lobby information to the public, they would have pulled out. They just wouldn't be there. So that's where I'm at.
Well, I spent 11 years working for the City of Watertown, and I can tell you what I experienced while there, particularly as the acting city engineer. I sat in some of those closed-door meetings, and I'm not talking about the confidential meetings with potential people moving here. I'm talking about the meetings that happen before the board meetings when people are directed what to say and do. I was asked to sign documents that had false statements. I refused. I was asked to say things that weren't true. I refused. That's what I mean by favoritism, closed-door meetings. Things aren't pushed through for approval at the expense of the taxpayers, and I think it's wrong. I want to end it. I want all of the dealings with the city to occur out in the open.
Next question. See if you get this one first. The hockey rink. The new hockey rink. Is it reported? When will it be built? How much is it going to cost? And how's it going to get paid for? Four parts.
It's an easy question for me. I absolutely support this. This is part of the H2O 20. Again, they have the three big. They have the wellness center. They have the softball and the ice. We got to get this done. It's going to come in at about $8.3 million. We're going to move it over to the west side, over by the event center. Hopefully, we're going to get started on this. The construction manager at Risk is bringing it forward to us here in just a short time. This creates a lot of sales tax for us, folks. When people come to do hockey and to do figure skating, there's just thousands of dollars that are being brought into Watertown. Brookings was mentioned earlier, just for their big meet that they had down there that brings $2.75 million. This is absolutely true. We're building this thing big enough to have a state tournament. You have to have 1,500 seats in that thing, and we put in 300 additional area up on top. This is going to be a first-class hockey rink, ice skating rink that we absolutely need for the city of Watertown.
Sarah, it's 4 parts. The new hockey rink, do you support it? When is it going to get built? How's it going to get paid for, and what's it going to cost?
Okay. First of all, I support the new hockey rink because that was voted for by the people. And I had a child in hockey, and the time that was allotted for the kids that are doing that, they're horrible. We do need a new hockey arena. And as far as when, as soon as we can. I think our old one is on the out. How it will be paid for, it's bonded for. And how much will it cost? It's in the range of $7 to $8 million, as far as I know. If it comes in over that, I don't think we should necessarily ditch it, but I think we need to look at how we would pay for it.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm in favor of the hockey rink. I've heard about it for quite a while, and how do we pay for it is another whole question. I think it'll bring in enough money in different competitions that they have for hockey to warrant putting it together. I don't know if it'll ever pay for itself, but that's not why we put it up. We put it up so the kids got a place to go and play hockey, and the kids are what we built this community for.
All right, Steve gets the first crack at this next question. I've probably got more audience questions than we'll have time for, but I'll get to one here. This person asks, knowing that the city gives a percentage of tax dollars to the county, do you think the city should put some money into a new justice center instead of building rec centers and other things that are private enterprise?
You know, one of the things that I'm just going to fall back on, we are putting in, as you noticed earlier on the show, $1.5 million is going to go from the city of Watertown already from our residents. I think what we need to do is we need to continue on with our program of building our, the hockey rink, the softball rink, to bring people to Watertown so that we can actually bring in those revenue dollars, bring in those tax dollars, and have something for our kids. We need to make sure that our kids, our grandkids, and our grandkids' kids will have something to do. You know, otherwise, if you don't get these things done in Watertown, why stay here? There's just, it's no fun. It's a cold climate unless you're a fisherman or hockey. I guess, that's, I'm not a hockey player, but maybe I'll have to learn. Because you got 6 months of time of winter that you have to deal with. So no, we are supporting the facility. We're giving them a good deal on some property. We actually are moving quite well with that and working closely with the county.
I think the question was asking if we shouldn't be putting some money toward the Justice Center instead of the rec center, softball complex, ice arena. Well, those dollars were bonded for specifically for those items, so no, we can't take that money and put it that way. Those came about from a vote. But as far as supporting more heavily, I mean, most of the county lives in the city limits of Watertown. And so the city is putting money toward that facility.
Yeah, we're the major part of the whole county is Watertown. I think it's 21 million or so live, or 21,000 live around here, and I think there's 27,000 in the county. And so we got to contribute our share, and so that's the way it has to be.
I believe the next question is for Sarah. A member of the audience says, money doesn't grow on trees. What is the bonded indebtedness of Watertown today? Sales tax revenues are down. How is the thinking of spending more money to go further in debt?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last part?
Sure. They said sales tax revenues are down. That's what I mean by the next sentence. What's the thinking about why you would spend more money to go further in debt in light of that?
Okay. Sales tax revenue is down. That's a fact. And it's a bleak future with the online shopping trends that we see. We need to turn that around somehow. Money doesn't grow on trees, and it seems like taxes are rising higher than incomes, so people are falling farther and farther behind. And I get that it looks like we're doing the wrong thing in building these quality of life amenities for our community, but the voters did approve those, and they will have a long-term effect of making our community more attractive for employers, which might locate here and employ people that might not come here if we didn't have those quality of life things to do. So they're very critically important to the future of our community, and at the time that we bonded for them, it looked like financially we could afford them.
Yeah, financially, it seems like everything is hinged on money, and I'm a taxpayer out there that fight it all day long, every day, trying to keep up with all of the added things that we put into the city. We needed the new rec center up there, the wellness center, and we need the new hockey rink. This brings people to town, it brings money to town, and I think that we just have to force it on us.
The fact of the matter is, if you go to the South Dakota Department of Labor, you will notice the last 4 months, the City of Watertown is up in their revenues from a year ago. So that is the facts. You can look at that. We do need to absolutely be cautious of where the dollars go. But Sarah's right. The City of Watertown, the folks voted for a $30 million bond issue. We are going to use that. We've used $20 million on our rec center. We've used $5 million on our ball diamonds. We've got $5 million, plus we've got actually $54 million sitting in our accounts with the City of Watertown. We are financially secure at this point.
All right, we'll go to Mike to start out this next one. Here's a good question. What is the 5-year roadmap for the Watertown Mall? They've been struggling. What do you see as a future for the mall in town?
Boy, I'm not good at what I've seen of it. It's a struggle for the mall because everything seems to be pulling away. I'm guilty of this myself. I want stuff downtown Watertown, and we got a mall that's struggling, and we've got a Walmart store and everything trying to build east out towards the I-29 exit into town, and they're trying to hold people at those stores without even getting to the mall. Now, I see we're working on the road finally in front of the mall, and I think that's a big help, but how do you get businesses to move into that mall that we want those same businesses to move downtown? So our main objective must be to bring new businesses to Watertown, and in order to do that, we've got to have more help. I mean, I see help wanted signs on every business on every corner, and so we haven't got the people to even get the help we need.
That mall has been just a crazy thing. We did raise some dollars. I made a few phone calls, raised $20,000 to put in the road. But when you talk to the owners of the mall, they're really perplexed at this too. They were just down to the ICS conference in Las Vegas last month. They have a lot of people that are looking at building new stores and things such as that. We've also hired Retail Strategies, who is looking at the downtown properties, the mall properties, trying to get these folks to come to Watertown. It is tough, and when they go through bankruptcy, they have no option other than to leave.
Driving to the mall, it's an emotional experience seeing the disrepair of the road. It's very, very sad. It's not a public road, it's private property, And if you want to know what will happen to our public roads, just look at what happened at the mall. Lack of maintenance caused that road to fail, and now it needs expensive reconstruction. I hope it's not too late. This was one of the main topics of the debate 4 years ago between Williams and Thorson about fixing that road, so I'm not sure what we can do.
No, Steve, you get the next question. Yeah, and it dovetails with what you've been saying, all of you. Here's the question. There's talk about adding additional retail or manufacturing businesses to the communities. With our current unemployment rate at about 3%, how do you plan to entice businesses to come to town when there isn't a viable labor force available to fill the positions currently?
It is extremely hard, Lee, because right now we have 509 openings in Watertown, and they can't get these filled. It goes from anywhere from Walmart jobs up to engineering jobs is where they're at. So what we're looking at is we need to work with the GOED. We need to get people into town. But when it comes to businesses that we're bringing, we need to find out what the leakage is. We don't want to bring in something that is actually the same type of business that you already have. And then when you take a look at manufacturing has been a real staple of Watertown, but we need to absolutely diversify our economy. We need to bring in some of these other type of jobs, whether it be more healthcare, work with our hospital, work with them and see if we can get some other types of healthcare jobs in here. Bring in more white collar jobs, bring in the banking jobs, work with First Premier, have some expansions on other things that they use. So we need to be careful not to continually bring in the welding jobs. Not that they're bad, they're great jobs, but we need to look at others.
Would you mind repeating that question for me?
No problem. There's talk about adding additional retail and manufacturing business to the community. In fact, all of you have said that tonight. With our current unemployment rate of about 3%, how do you plan to entice businesses to come to town when there isn't a viable labor force available to fill the current positions in the community?
I think we can do more to entice businesses to come here with our partnering with the employers to provide those skilled jobs. I have 3 kids that just went through college, and they have huge debt from that. And if they had been promised a job upon completion of their degree at a place like one of these, I think they might have taken it, and they would come here. But I think we can do a lot more in that respect in getting the workers that the industries need.
Yeah, I believe too, we've got the best vocational school, I think, in the United States, and we develop people and send them out of Watertown, and we need to kind of concentrate on putting people in jobs that we have open right here in Watertown. I know myself, I have a hard time getting help now. Mine's a more manual labor type help, but it's still, you got to have like this facility we're sitting in, they train a lot of kids to grow up and take part in the labor force.
Next question, we'll have Sarah start this one, and I probably should ask this one or I won't be welcome back in my neighborhood when I get home tonight. What are you going to do about the drainage ditch problem on Cherry Drive? That's where I live. I've got a front row seat to it every day. We had a meeting 2 years ago this month at City Hall to address this, and nothing has been done, and our neighbors, including me, aren't happy about it. So what caused the problem? How can it be fixed and when?
Okay, what caused the problem was numerous things came to play that resulted in that mess. Basically, the upstream developer was not having to comply with the drainage rules, first of all, and then there was no inspection being done on the work as it was being done. The pipe was put in too low. That's the first thing that happens. It should have been surveyed to see that so they could correct it, but they didn't. Now it's there, and unfortunately, I don't think that can be fixed in an open channel to drain away. You've got a wetland there. It was a wetland before, it's a different kind of wetland today because of that. And I think the best answer is to enhance that wetland and to make it into a water feature that's attractive and more park-like for the neighborhood so that it's seen as an amenity, not as a mess.
I'm not familiar with this issue at all. And so I know drainage is always a problem and it should be looked at. And so being not familiar with it, I don't want to try to take a side on it at all. Thank you.
It is a problem. You know, we've had numerous. I sat in Sarah's office at one particular time, and she basically said, you know, we did buy that for a wetland, and it should stay as it is. But I do agree, you know, you can do vegetation, you can do different things. We could look at tiling, we could look at that. Those are all things that we need to visit with the Corps of Engineers on, because it is jurisdictional water, and we have to abide by their rules. So that being said, we did have a meeting just yesterday on the thing. We're going to be getting back with all the landowners and see if there's a solution that can be made that would be positive for that area.
Mike, I believe you with the next question. Stony Point, Mike. What went wrong, and how would you assure that it doesn't happen again?
Start it over.
The Stony Point development, what went wrong, and how would you assure that that doesn't happen again?
Stony Point. There we go. I didn't understand where we were at.
Well, we're at the problem.
Yeah. I didn't even understand why they let them start building there in the first place, because that was it was just the wrong spot to try to do anything like that with, and to stop something like that in the future. I think you just got to be more on top of where we're letting these developments go. That development was they've spent a lot of money on that already before they got stopped on it. And the only reason they got stopped, I think, was because the neighbors started coming in and just raising particular. Yeah, because well, you know, it's my neighborhood, and I don't want to see that Stony Point area washing into the lake. That's for sure. And I can talk about the lake, but I thought it was okay when they stopped it.
Steve.
You know, Stony Point has been long-standing out there. You know, everybody understands the trees and area that is just beautiful for the lake. But when somebody buys a piece of property for $1 million, they have expectations of what they can do with their property. Now, Mr. Drake came in with plan after plan after plan, and it started earlier with Scott Munger, and Scott's got through. I don't know, I was not mayor when it first came through. So I don't know exactly. It went through the engineering department, and they worked on it, and they allowed that to go through. I don't know.
Stony Point 1 and 2 went through without a public process, which is in violation of our city ordinances. And Stony Point 2 blocked access to Stony Point 3, which was Bob Drake's development that happened under Mayor Thorson. And what went wrong? We did not follow our process. We have a process in place. Had we followed it, we would have addressed the issue of the channel immediately, and we wouldn't have moved forward if the channel hadn't been decided. The council ultimately said no about that, and then the money wouldn't have been spent.
How about the 30-second levels? And Mike, you're first.
I don't have any rebuttal on that. It was all, to me, it was straightforward. I seen what was happening out there, and hey, drainage is always a problem.
Steve. My response really is, sir, you were up at City Hall as the assistant city engineer. You would have thought if it was so wrong and there were so many things broken, you would have gone to the president of the city council and said, sir or ma'am or whoever, there's problems going on here. I would have thought that you would have brought that up. Or you could have come to the mayor and said, this is wrong, we need to follow up on this. So I don't recall any of those conversations taking place.
Stony Point 1 and 2 were violations, and I was partly aware. I had no idea the extent that they went on. They didn't go to the council. The former city engineer was pressured to push them through, and he did, without anyone seeing that, even me. And when I saw it happen, I did bring it to the attention of my coworkers, and I know I talked to certain members of the council, and so I did do that.
Steve, you get the first crack at this next question. Did you personally participate in the downtown charrette? How else have you personally shown your commitment to downtown?
You know, there's many things that I attend. I was at one meeting of the charrette for the downtown. I did not personally appear at all of them that they met at. You know, I have people there that are constantly going to those things, and you have that information given to you. I think the charrette, you know, you listen to it, you read it, you follow it. I think they need to do things. We need to get the two-way streets going. You know, we're starting on First Avenue. That was one of the things they needed. They needed to get the traffic slowed down. Stoplights. I think I wrote red light, green light, stop, you know, no light. That's really kind of a thing that, do we need just stop signs? Do we need stoplights? I'm going to leave that up to the people downtown and let them decide on that. But we are putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into the downtown every year. You know, we're doing the sidewalks, you know, through the alleyways. We're getting things cleaned up, whether it be through the utilities and through the city. It's working extremely well, and we need to continue to work with the downtown.
Could you repeat that, please?
Did you personally participate in the downtown charrette? How else have you personally shown your commitment to downtown?
Yes, I did participate in the downtown charrette, and as a planner, I know what a wonderful and awesome planning tool a charrette is. It's a huge effort, but when a community puts one on, you really need to participate in it, and to see it happen, you get all these diverse opinions which culminate in consensus. It's amazing, and it was a rare, wonderful opportunity, and I did participate in that, and I have taken other opportunities to work with the downtown whenever they've come up. I'm a big supporter of the downtown.
Yes, I was in a charrette downtown myself, and I went back and forth down the streets and looked it all over. I don't remember who all the people were that I was with, but there was quite a number of us went in and out of different places and walked the streets up and down to see what we could do to improve downtown Watertown. And of course, like I say, I came here in 1950, and I like downtown Watertown as good as anybody could possibly like a hometown. So whatever we can do to fix it, I'm for it.
Sarah, you get the next question. Provides us a little bit, and make it a little tighter. What would you identify as 3 things you would do to improve the quality of life in Watertown if you were elected?
When I'm elected, the 3 things that I will concentrate on first are, 1, the downtown. And having a healthy, vibrant downtown is crucial for a healthy community. And I think we need to redouble our efforts to keep the downtown alive and help it to rejuvenate. Secondly, I think that the lake needs a comprehensive plan. We're in the process of revising the city's comprehensive plan right now, and I so want to be part of that effort. And Lake Kempeska needs to have its own chapter, and we need to identify not just the water quantity problems of flooding and the quality problems, the sediment buildup, but we also need to look at the commercial aspects, the recreational aspects, and finally, living wage job creation. That's the big one, because that's where we're going to get an increase in sales tax revenue, by increasing the number of people who have disposable income in our community.
Well, the lake is the one that I jumped to right away, and that's our most important asset. We got 2 lakes, but seawall to try to hold the shorelines and stuff on Lake Compesca. I was on the committee in 1997 to help study the water coming into the lake from the Sioux River, so we're getting too much sediment. And then after that, I would be on streets, and I ran out of time.
Yeah, I personally think the number one thing that we really have to address is Lake Compesca. We have to stop the sediment that's coming into that lake that is building up before we could ever start to even dream about dredging. We can do the dredging, they did it in Iowa, $1 million a year, I don't know, it'd be really hard to do that. But we also need to work on getting jobs here in Watertown. And when I say jobs, I think we need to diversify jobs where it's not the jobs that we have currently. We absolutely have to get a new type of a workforce coming to Watertown.
All right, Mike, you get this next question first. It's a question from the audience. Do you feel we as a town are totally allowing a free market? Does our government take too much of an active role in deciding on certain things, such as Target's recent dilemma? And I would assume they're probably referring to the denial of a liquor license to Target that was unanimously denied by the city council.
Well, I totally agreed with that decision myself, because I don't know as we need liquor in every store. We've got stores that make money on liquor. Now, as after saying that, I don't know as I want the city telling me as my business is what I can handle and what I can't handle. And so, but on a case by case basis, I kind of went along with what the city done there on that decision. As my business or as any other business goes, you want to work with the city, you don't want to work against them, and so you're trying to do all the things that a city wants you to do with their ordinances and stuff. So I think that everything went according to Hoyle on that one.
I agree with the decision that the city council made. I don't think that we had to have liquor in Target. I do believe that they'll be coming back to us at a later date with a different format. Instead of having the liquor on the shelves right in front where the kids are at, they might have something that's an outside, a store within a store is what I would expect. Have their own separate cashiering, things such as that. Can we stop that as a city? I don't think you can. But as we were able to stop it now on the shelves, I agree with that decision.
Yes, I think that the free market was interfered with in that specific situation by the government too much in that particular case. The decision was made based on emotion, and I get that. I mean, our kids are precious to us. But when you look at the fact of the matter, should liquor be controlled more on one type of business than on another type of business? Does it really matter where the children see the liquor, if it's in a shopping basket or on your shelf at home? I think the city did interfere with the free market.
Steve, you get the next question. For a casual member of the community, it seems like every time you turn on the radio or pick up the newspaper, there's the fits and starts of some new project, whether it's a skate park or a shooting range or whatever. It looks like there isn't a long-range development plan. And can you address, is there one? If not, why? And what would you do about it?
Are you seeing a long-range plan on projects? There is, absolutely. You know, when we had the SHRED, or not the SHRED, I'm sorry, when we had the H2O20 program that came out, they listed all these projects. They listed what they were looking for. We then prioritized them along with Market Street and along with the folks from H2O20. We have those projects listed out. We knew that it was a wellness center. We knew it was the ball diamonds. We know it's the ice. We know that we want to get a shooting range done. We know we want to get these things. They're all in the H2O20 plan. So we actually have those prioritized, and we do have a plan to get them finished up if we can afford them. Now you have to remember, when I say if we can afford them, we are using our second penny sales tax, which is paying for all these, which 30% of that tax is coming from outside of the city of Watertown. which is a positive thing for us. So it isn't just Watertown taking the dollars out of that 2 pennies. It's substantially other people that are in our hotels, that are in our restaurants, that are actually in Watertown shopping for the same reasons that why we built them.
It looks like we have no long-range comprehensive plan for development, and I would have to tend to agree with that, although it's better. 11 years ago, we really did have nothing, and there has been more planning, but there needs to be a lot more than we're currently doing right now, and it needs to be part of the city's comprehensive plan. And actually, we're in the process of revising our community's comprehensive plan right now, and the long-term capital improvement plan needs to be a very important part of that plan. And it's an important element. Right now, we're not even looking at the comprehensive plan, and the staff doesn't even know where it is. That's wrong. We need to have one, and we need to follow it.
Yeah, long-range planning is in every business or anything you do. You got to have a plan that takes you through into the future. And I don't know, from what I've seen, it appeared to me that it was kind of a staggered deal coming and going, but I was up here on that charrette and stuff, and I watched them kind of develop that on that H 2020, and it's a viable plan if you're in the know so that you know what's happening with it. When you look at it from a newspaper standpoint, it looks like it's hit and miss, but it's an actual plan.
All right, Sarah. These are two separate questions. I think I'm going to try and combine them into one so we can get to as many questions as we can. Would any of you support dredging Lake Compesca by the inlet, and would you be in favor of dredging the river?
I would be in favor of dredging both, but here's the problem. The cities wanted to dredge Lake Compesca for years and years, and I've been on the Lake Compesca Water Project District Board of Directors for 20 years, and we put together a strategic dredging plan for Lake Compesca, and we tried to get government funding for it. Well, let me tell you, if we had government funding for that sort of thing in the past, it's history. It's very unlikely. At that time, we were told in order to be eligible, we had to stop the source of sediment. We need to prevent those pollutants from getting in the river and the lake instead of trying to dredge them out once they get there, because dredging after they're there is far more expensive than preventing them getting in the river in the first place. And so, yes, I would support it, but it is risky because until we stop those sediments from entering, they just keep building up, and it all would take one flood and to just take millions of dollars of work to waste.
I think it's almost an impossibility to dredge Lake Compesca because we'd end up with an island in the middle of that thing about the same height as this building. But we could, and they've got them, they use them in Orlando, Florida. I checked on this a long time ago. And they've got almost like a sand sucker water deal, and I thought we could put like 12 of those around that lake because we've got 12 different public accesses to that lake, and start bringing the silt back out and letting it run off with a standpipe and hauling away the silt. Otherwise, it's almost an impossibility.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, it's two questions that I kind of combined into one, Steve. Would you be in favor of dredging the river, and would you support dredging Lake Compesca by the inlet?
You know, the inlet it's actually quite dangerous right there. It would be nice to see that sandbar being taken out of there. But they're absolutely correct that we have to stop the silt, we have to stop the debris that comes in through that. One of the things we did so that we can retain the water level is get the weir fixed, which had been broken for numerous years, which we did not realize or were never told that. But as far as the river, we need to clean that out. We need to get it over by the trestles and clean that area out and get some of these sandbars done. If we can get the permission from the Corps, I'm all in favor of that.
Mike, you get the next question, and this is
close to the one you just had, so if somebody here that wants to know, the sand and chemical that enter the storm sewers and end up in our river, in the Sioux River, what do you think we should be doing to try and protect the river or help clean up the river?
From the runoff is the way I understand that, is from the street runoff.
Yes.
And that is a big problem because we use salt on our streets and all of that goes down into the storm sewers and out into the river. And trying to take that out of there has been a real problem. The only thing I can see you could do is what Lake Combeska does to the river up north. It's a settling pond for the Sioux River north of Watertown, and so as we come out of the south side of town with our runoff off of our streets, we got to have some type of a settling pond to take that stuff out before it heads on down the river and plugs the river up. And I don't know. I haven't tried to study that problem, but to me, that's the only way you could cure it.
Yeah, you know what we do, we put tons of salt on the road, we put tons of sand on the road every year. We have to protect the citizens when they're driving in the wintertime. I mean, if you don't put that down, we're going to have tons of accidents. The only one's going to like is Gary Peter. That's kind of what it's going to be, because it's going to be at the collision center, the capital of the world. But you have to put that stuff on the streets. Hopefully we can do some changes and use some product that isn't so contamination to the waterways.
Mike gets the next question here.
I haven't answered
Oh,
yet.
I'm sorry. Sarah.
That's all right. Currently, our main snow storage site is a trapped basin. It has no outlet to the river. And the snow that's piled there across from the old Nets Bakery soaks into the ground. And so that's ideal for a snow storage site. If you can do that, you'll keep a lot of the pollutants out of the river, and that's a good thing. So in the future, we need to find more sites like that don't have an outlet. They're difficult to find. As far as using salt, we need to use salt, like you said, and we need to explore the environmentally friendly alternatives when they come up.
All right, sorry for jumping in there. Now it's Mike's turn with this next question. Wanted to ask you about roads and how would you rate the state and quality of our roads in Watertown? Are we investing enough money in that infrastructure, and is there too much deferred maintenance going on where things are falling into disrepair?
And the answer is yes. We're diverting too money on everything else. We're going to have a real problem with our streets in the next 7-8 years because we're spending the money that was supposed to go into the street repair on buildings and other diverted projects. And as I see the streets deteriorating over the next 6 or 7 years, if we don't put that money back into the streets that we funded for, that's what the second penny sales tax was for, we're going to have a real problem with trying to come up with enough money to do our streets, to bring them back up to the standard they should be at. And they're not all falling apart today, but they're going downhill. We need to put more maintenance back into the streets.
Yeah, I think maintenance is a huge thing for our streets. We currently are for this year, 2017, we're going to do 300 blocks of crack seal, which is double of what we normally do. The past 8 years, the prior 8 years before myself, they quit doing the crack sealing. That is a preventative measure where the water can continually go down into the cracks, freezes, comes back, and destroys the road, creates the potholes. So preventive maintenance is absolutely imperative.
I rate the quality of our roads at about a C-. And is the amount of money that we're investing now appropriate? The amount of money we're investing right now keeps the level of service at a C-. If we want to get a better grade, we've got to invest more. If we are okay getting a worse grade, we can invest less. But I also happen to know our road system fairly well, and an unfortunate truth is that we have a lot of roads coming up for maintenance we have to increase the amount of money we're spending on our roads in order to maintain the status quo.
Steve, I believe gets this question, and because we're making these generic, this one's a little more pointed, so I'm going to try and. There have been discussions about the failure of developments in Watertown, or failure of Watertown to follow procedures for development. Some of those have been directed to the engineering department, which is the first step in the process, and then the planning and zoning, as well as the council over the last 3 administrations. What message do you have to the voters to ensure that we as a city will be more effective with you as mayor to ensure the process is followed than it has been in the past?
Right. Well, there's a process that actually happens. It comes from an engineering firm that brings the plans up to the city engineering department. They then vet through that. They look at the water quality. They look and see where the retentions are. They look at the size of the roads. They look at those things, and once they're comfortable with that, they then take it in front of the planning commission. The planning commission then vets through that whole process. And we have to trust them. We have to trust our engineering firm. We have to trust the other engineering firms. But there are things, there are ordinances, there's ways that we have to follow. And I heard it earlier, if these aren't correct, let's fix them. If they're too stringent, let's loosen them up a little bit. If they're not stringent enough, then we might have to tighten things up a little bit. But there are ordinances that need to be followed, and without a doubt, it has to be. And I think our engineering department does an excellent job in doing that.
In the last 30 years, every single engineer in the City of Watertown Engineering Department that has served as a department head for planning has been ousted, 100%, every single one. And it's all about the development process. And as an engineer working for the City of Watertown, you can't win. You are either fired for refusing to cut corners, or you're fired for cutting corners and getting caught. And the first thing I will do as mayor is bring those ordinances, which we're taking an end run around, to the council and see if they want to revise them. And if they don't want to revise them, we're going to enforce them 100%.
Yes, that's, but when you're third on this thing, they've already answered the question. And that's the case truth, because when by the time it gets through the engineering department, the roads and stuff, it's already been decided. So.
All right, we're kind of winding down on time here. We'll start with Sarah on this one. Yes or no on the construction of a new jail, and why?
Okay, first of all, let me just say that the voters in our community are smart. They're intelligent, they know what we need, they've researched this, and whatever decision that the voters come up with is the decision that I will support. How I vote as an individual is really irrelevant to the process. I support the process, and we're going through the process. I see both sides. We clearly need a new jail. There is no question that we need a new jail. We need to have a safe place for the employees that work there. The question is it what we need that we're building? And I've heard from knocking on doors, and people think it's excessive, that we've got too much. And so I see that side too. They want something scaled back even further than it has been scaled back. So those are both sides of the issue.
Yes, the people I've talked to, they know we need a new jail, or we need to remodel the jail we're in. I've heard that over and over, because they think this costs too much. They think the cost is out of line, and but they're supportive of a new jail. And not necessarily a new justice center, but a new jail. And so when I talk to the people, that's what I'm getting for an answer is can't we do this with a more reasonable approach? And that's why I mentioned it, because I had three of them talk about remodeling the jail may have.
Yeah, it is a very controversial story out there with the Justice Center. You know, you were looking at a $30-some-odd million project early on, now it's down to $18 million project. So they have backed off on that substantially. I think when we look at the problems that we have with methamphetamines and with heroin in our community and other communities, we're going to need it, and I will support the jail.
Well, I want to thank all three of you for your answers, your candid answers, and your participation in this. And so to wrap it up, I'm going to give each of you 2 minutes to close, and we'll go in the reverse of the order we started. So, Steve, you will be first.
Well, I want to thank everybody here for taking the time out tonight and listening to the stories that we have to tell and what our thoughts are on different projects. There's so many things that we can be so proud of in Watertown. Certainly we can go out and we can find little things that are negative. But when we put our best foot forward as a community and we put that excitement out there that we're going to increase our sales tax, we're going to do that by having these quality of life issues. We're going to have new hotels built in Watertown, possibly up to 3 in the next year and a half. People are out there that say, Watertown, you are the greatest. Brookings, Aberdeen, all those towns are calling us and they're talking to me and they're saying, how do you do it? How are you guys growing like you're growing? And how are you guys getting these things done? Well, we have a roadmap on how to get things done, and they want that map. It's just exciting for Watertown, and it's a great part to be it's just a great way to watch our whole community grow, and to be a part of this is so exciting. And we have a council that literally wants to see Watertown grow. That council wants to see the best for your kids. They want to see the best for your grandkids. This is a wonderful community, I'm telling you. I would never want to be anyplace else because it is just, it's an amazing place, and all of you have put those dollars in there. Through your sales tax revenues, you're shopping locally, you're doing this thing. Look at Uptown. Harry's, the brewery, the Dempsey's, the things that are going, and this just thrives. People thrive on that, and they're going to start building more, and they're going to do those things. So on June the 20th, I hope you vote for me. I would love to be your mayor for another 4 years and keep Watertown moving forward because it is the most exciting place to live.
It is an exciting place to live, and Watertown is moving forward. I would like to see a little bit more on the conservative side of it. I'm a right-wing conservative, but there's no way around it. So when I spend $1, you know I've researched that dollar for about twice as long as I should have. I don't want to let that dollar out for any reason, and I've always been this way. It's not nothing new. I'm a typewad. That's how it's good. And so when we start building, and we're building for Watertown, I don't mind the building, but I want to watch where every dollar is going for every reason. And when I see the different things springing up, I get nervous. That's how come I'm running for this office, is because as your mayor, you can bet that I'll scrutinize every nickel that we're going to spend for Watertown. And we're not going to spend it for anything else. We're going to spend it for Watertown to bring in new businesses or whatever we need to enhance Watertown, but not just to spend your tax dollars. I'm a tightwad, that's all there is to it. I want to keep that money right here in Watertown as long as we can and not increase our taxes. Mine went up, I know that, I've watched them go up. And so if mine are going up, yours are going up, and that's caused from too much government and too much spending. So if I can, and if you'll elect me, you'll know I'll watch every nickel that comes through that office as tight as I can watch it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the chance to have you scrutinize me. Thank you.
Remember as a kid how it felt when you got that one experienced choice team member on your team and you just knew you were going to win? I'm proud of significant accomplishments I achieved behind the scenes. I earned a FEMA rating that lowered flood insurance premiums all over Watertown for hundreds of people. I successfully wrote grants for millions of dollars of improvement projects for our city. I've stood up for doing the right thing for citizens against powerful opposition, and I never wavered. I am that choice person on your team. I want to remind you, I do have a plan, and I'll just reiterate, I talked about it before, 3 main components of what I want to do right away when I'm the mayor. First of all, I will fight to support downtown. Second, I will work to complete the comprehensive plan into a living document that's on everyone's desk, that it's referred to and used carefully and followed, and that comprehensive plan will include a long-term capital improvement plan. It will also include a very thorough Lake Compesca plan. And finally, I want to aggressively focus on recruiting growth for our existing industries that we have in our community, and for getting other ones to move here so that we can increase the amount of disposable income available and have an increase in property tax revenue, or in sales tax revenue. We need change. You deserve a mayor that's professional, trustworthy, and that you can count on to do the right thing for the citizens. I will be that leader. So I will appreciate your vote, June 20th. Thank you.
That'll do it. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming out tonight. And make sure and exercise your right to vote. Election day is June 20th. Early voting at City Hall between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. weekdays. Thanks for coming out. Have a good night, everyone.
Chris, do you think